Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Journey of the Superman Adventures. Chapter 81. Adam and Logan are fighting in the simulation room of the X Academy. Well, it's better to say that Adam abused Logan unilaterally than a fight. After all, after absorbing sunlight to improve his abilities last time, all of Adam's abilities had to be fully strengthened. Even if Adam stood there still, Logan's adamantium alloy claws couldn't even pierce Adam's clothes. Needless to say, Adam's body, and Adam can land and fly very easily. The fight lasted less than 5 minutes, and Logan was punched by Adam again, so Logan quit. Okay, Adam, I know I'm not your opponent anymore, I won't fight anymore, it's so boring. Adam stopped when he heard the words, and said with a smile, hee, you are unlucky. My strength just broke through a while ago, and I can only blame you for being unlucky. Logan shrugged when he heard this, picked up a cigar and lit it up, saying, well, you are a monster, and I won't compete with you in the future. You said it was a battle, but it was you who abused me. If it wasn't for my recovery ability, you've already beaten me to the ground. Adam chuckled, and didn't tell him at all that he only exerted 2 points of strength, otherwise you would definitely hurt Logan's self-esteem. Let's go, since there is no need to call anymore, let's go out. The door was opened. Logan and Adam went out and saw Jean Grey coming out of the control room. It was a very exciting battle, and Logan was unable to fight back. Hee, this is rare. I didn't expect Logan to have today. After hearing this, Logan hummed twice, and said, okay, Chin, don't laugh at me, this guy is a freak, I don't want to compare with him. Adam and Jean Grey both laughed when they saw it, and then left the simulation room together. I have already seen some places that should be seen in the school, which are no different from ordinary schools, and it is not easy for others to take him to the more secret places, so at noon, Jean and Logan took Adam back to the school. Dining room, this is where all the mutant kids eat with the professors. Because it was already noon, all the mutant students were eating in the dining room. Seeing Adam and Jean Grey walking into the dining room, those children looked at Adam with excited and curious eyes. Hero Shine came to his school, how could these students not be excited? Looking into the eyes of the children, Adam smiled slightly and said, hi, hello. Seeing Adam greeted him, some children stood up with a bang and looked at Adam excitedly, and a few took out a small book and looked at Adam, as if they wanted Adam to sign it. After Professor X saw it, he said, hee, Mr. Shine was invited by us to visit the academy, and he won't leave so soon, so don't be in a hurry to get autographs, let's eat first. When the students heard Professor X's words, they all nodded and sat quietly in their seats and began to eat. Chin Grey smiled after seeing it, it seems that you are very popular. After hearing this, Adam said, I didn't expect to be so popular, haha. Then he sat at the table where the professors ate with Logan and Chin. Professor X smiled and asked, what? Mr. Shine, what do you think of this academy? After Adam heard this, he said, you can call me Adam. Well, as for the school, I think it's pretty good, but there's one thing I don't understand. Why are the courses that improve mutant abilities and control put at the end? After hearing this, Professor X looked at the students and said kindly, because the mutants who come to this school are a group of mutants who want peace and yearn for an ordinary life. They are afraid of their own abilities and yearn for an ordinary life. I feel that when they grow up and can fully face their own identities, they will be taught the ability to control themselves, otherwise there may be some accidents, and the use of abilities is generally prohibited in schools. Adam nodded after hearing this and didn't continue talking, but he also knew why the X-Men couldn't defeat the Brotherhood every time, but maybe that's why mutants and humans didn't completely break off and go to war. The lunch was very sumptuous, and Adam and the professors from the X College ate very happily. After the meal, Adam told the mutant children some stories about how he subdued gangsters and helped the police. The younger children were taken out to sleep by Storm and Jean Grey, while the rest went outside to chat casually on the beach in the sun. Although the time passed quickly, Adam was still very happy because he was always accompanied by a beautiful woman like Jean Grey. It's even better to give yourself a cold look the first time you see yourself. In the evening, after dinner, Professor X handed over some information to Adam, and Adam was taken to a house by Jean Grey. This is where you will rest tonight. If you need anything else, you can press this button and tell me. He pointed to the button on the bedside. After hearing this, Adam smiled and said, "Okay, thank you for staying with me in the afternoon. You'd better go back quickly, your boyfriend is already very upset." Chingele smiled slightly and said, "He is like that, don't worry about it, okay, good night." After finishing speaking, he left Adam's room. Adam smiled slightly and did not speak. He picked up the information given by Professor X and looked at it. Although he was confident in his own strength, after all, some mutants' abilities were too weird, and they might be caught if they were not careful. Kanemark is a body-enhanced mutant with powerful defense and strength. The Wizard Ainz is an African wizard who can create illusions, control lightning, and poisonous gas, and is more dangerous. The Rubber Man Relos has a rubber-like body and is immune to all physical attacks. The name of the purple spider is unknown, female, the ability is unknown, it may be venom. Adam put down the information in his hand and said, "It seems that there is going to be a hard battle, so let's call my father first." Athena connected to my father. After hearing this, Athena said, "Okay, Master. I'll connect now." After speaking, she called Howard Stark. Soon, the phone was connected, and Howard's voice came from inside. "Adam. What's the matter?" Adam said, "Father, I have some things to deal with here, so I want to tell you." Howard didn't say anything after hearing this, and said, "Really, then take care." Then the two chatted casually for a while, then hung up the phone. Adam saw that it was almost time, so he turned off the lights in the room and prepared to go to bed. At this moment, Adam suddenly heard the door of his room being opened. Adam opened his eyes and saw that it was Chingele, who was wearing a translucent pajamas, walking into Adam's room with a smile on her face, and closed the door behind her. Adam was a little puzzled and asked, "Chin, why are you here?" Chingele smiled charmingly, and said, "What do you think? I am a woman wearing translucent pajamas, and I entered your room so late. What do you think is the reason?" Adam was taken aback when he heard this. He admitted that Chingele is indeed attractive to him now, but after all, he is not the kind of person who can't move his legs when he sees a woman. Suddenly, he saw something different about Chingele, that is the eyes. Chingele's eyes seemed to be burning, constantly flashing with flame-like light. Adam had heard from Logan before that there was a problem with Chingele. Maybe now is the time for Chingele to get sick. Adam thought that Chingele was sick, so he walked up to Chingele and softly shouted, "Jin, wake up, I'm Adam, Chin." Chingele giggled after hearing this, and said, "Of course I know you are Adam, I'm sober, you don't think I'm sleepwalking, ha, ha, I just want to have love with you." Adam was speechless immediately, and said, "Chin, wake up." Chingri hugged Adam, and said softly, "Hee hee, why are you so scared? Am I that scary? Have you forgotten that you kissed me when we first met?" Adam opened Chingele with some embarrassment, and said, "Okay, Chin, stop making trouble, it was just a joke at that time." There was a flash of fire in Chingele's eyes, and the pajamas on Adam's body and Chingele's pajamas disappeared immediately, and were broken down by the mysterious power in Chingele's eyes. Chingele smiled charmingly, walked towards Adam step by step, and said, "Although you said no, your body is very eager." Just as Adam turned off the light and was about to rest, he saw the door of his room opened and Jean Grey walked in her pajamas. Clothes fell apart. Chingele's voice was seductive, and said, "Hee hee, compared to yours, your body is still more honest." Unfortunately, although Adam's body has already reacted, which is what normal men should have, but Adam's willpower is not that weak, his body trembled slightly and he broke away from Chingele's hand, saying, "Chin, I know this is fundamental. It's not you, come back." Chingele sneered and said, "What do you want her to do? Seeing you like this, do you think she will appear?" Adam narrowed his eyes slightly, and said, "Hee hee, it seems that I really guessed right, are you her second personality?" Chingele's every move is full of infinite temptation. Hee hee, so what? I am different from that fool who hides his thoughts in his heart. I like you, really, especially the strong energy in your body. Adam said lightly, "Sorry, I have a woman I love." After speaking, he instantly moved behind Chingele, and knocked her out with a knife in his hand. Looking at Chingele lying unconscious on the ground, Adam pressed his watch and put on his shirt, pulled the sheet to wrap Chingele up, and opened the door. Outside the door, Professor X was looking at him anxiously. She has been knocked out by me, but what happened to Chin? Adam was able to easily knock out Chin-Gri because he had to thank Professor X for his help, otherwise there would definitely be some fights. It seems that Professor X came outside Adam's room because he sensed Chin-Gri's abnormality, and he knew through his ability that the two people inside were naked, so he sent Adam a sound transmission to knock Chin-Gri unconscious, but he used the huge psychic ability suppressed Chin-Gele's second personality, allowing Adam to easily handle Chin-Gele. Professor X looked at the pale Chin-Gele, and said, "Please follow me, I will tell you on the way, Black Phoenix is not completely suppressed by me, and may wake up at any time." Adam nodded after hearing this, and led Chin-Gri to a room with Professor X, where there was a machine similar to a brain wave enhancement machine. After seeing it, Adam frowned slightly, feeling that the machine he had finally destroyed was being used again. They made it. Seeing Adam's expression, Professor X said, "Don't worry, this machine is not a brain wave enhancement machine, it's just a machine similar to that. Its ability is not as strong as the brain wave enhancement machine. We made it to save Chin." After hearing this, Adam asked, "What happened to Chin? And what happened to that Black Phoenix?" While operating the machine, Professor X said, "I discovered Chin with Eric decades ago, a mutant with the potential to reach the Omega level, because I was afraid that Chin's powerful ability would hurt myself or others. As a human being, I sealed most of her abilities in my mind, but I didn't expect that the sealed abilities would gradually form Chin's second personality, and she is Dark Phoenix." Adam said, "So Chin's second personality has awakened now?" Professor X nodded, and said, "That's right, because in the last Arkley Lake incident and the previous Statue of Liberty incident, Chin's life-threatening ability was stimulated several times, and we have not noticed it until now. Wait, when we noticed, Dark Phoenix had already fully awakened." After hearing this, Adam said, "That's why you guys made this machine, and want to use your spiritual power to seal Black Phoenix again?" Professor X nodded and said, "That's right, I think so." Adam shook his head and said, "Haven't you heard the phrase, blocking is worse than sparse?" Professor X said, "I can't take the risk. If I fail, the whole Earth will be destroyed by the Black Phoenix. I can feel her danger." Adam shrugged and said, "Okay, what should we do now?" After hearing this, Professor X said, "Just stand here, it's better not to move the piano." After speaking, he put on a hat-like instrument. After hearing this, Adam came to Jean Grey. He felt that Professor X was too conservative, which affected the X-Men. Almost all the X-Men have psychological problems. While they are afraid of their own power, they have to fight with their own ability. Perhaps it is this strange psychological phenomenon that makes Chin's sealed ability transform into her second personality. However, this is an internal matter of the X-Men after all, so Adam can't control it if he doesn't want to, so he quietly standing aside and watching Professor X. Not long after Professor X started the machine, Adam found that Chin-Gri had woken up. No, it should be the Black Phoenix. She just looked at Adam quietly, the flames in her eyes dissipated little by little, and finally she suddenly looked at Adam. He showed a charming smile, then closed his eyes and passed out. Adam saw all this in his eyes, but suddenly felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. He understood the last look in the eyes of the Black Phoenix, the madness and sadness of a person who yearns for freedom but has no future. He suddenly felt that maybe he was wrong and shouldn't help Professor X, but he shook his head to get rid of this thought from his mind. "Professor, how is Chin?" Professor X said a little tiredly. "It's all right now, Black Phoenix is temporarily sealed by me, and I will rely on Chin's own will to suppress her in the future." Adam nodded and said, "Well, since I'm fine, I should go back. After all, I might misunderstand Chin when I send her back like this." Professor X nodded and said, "Okay, you should rest first, I will notify Scott." Adam nodded and left, then returned to his room. Adam didn't sleep very comfortably throughout the night, because he still couldn't forget the last look in Black Phoenix's eyes. The next day, after Adam finished washing, he walked out of the room and went to the dining room. At this time, Chin came over and said softly, "Thank you, Adam." Adam was taken aback when he heard the words, and said, "Ah." "What?" Chin-Gri explained. "It was what happened last night. Although my body was controlled by her, I was still very awake. I knew what she did." Adam was a little embarrassed when he heard it. After all, he had seen all of his body before, coughed a few times and said, "Oh, it's easy to do, haha." Chin-Gree smiled slightly when she saw Adam's appearance, and said, "No matter what, I thank you." Adam paused, and said, Chin-Gele asked in confusion after hearing the words, "What's wrong?" Adam said very seriously, "Don't be afraid of Black Phoenix, she won't hurt you, I can feel her mind, she just longs for freedom, that's all, you shouldn't be afraid of her, because she is also a part of you." I don't know why. Adam suddenly said these words, maybe because he dreamed of the last look of the Black Phoenix last night, he smiled and left Chin-Gree. Chin-Gele was taken aback when she heard the words. She didn't expect Adam to say that. This was different from other people who often reminded her that the Dark Phoenix was dangerous and an existence that must be suppressed. This made Chin-Gree confused. The conversation between Adam and Jean Grey seemed to be seen by Cyclops, so when he saw Adam walking this way, Cyclops walked up to Adam with a poker face, and said, "I heard you saw Black Phoenix last night." Quote. Adam said indifferently, "Yes, what's the problem?" Cyclops gritted his teeth and said, "It's best to forget what you saw, remember, Jean Grey is my girlfriend." Obviously he has also seen Black Phoenix, and knows some of Black Phoenix's temper. Adam said lightly, "Don't worry, I haven't been to that extent yet." Cyclops snorted coldly after hearing this, and said, "It's better like this. Remember, the person Jean Grey likes is me, not you playboy." Adam frowned a little angrily, and said, "I hope you can know who you are talking to, boy, if you provoke me like this again, I will make it look good." Cyclops said angrily, "Although you are much better than me, if you dare to touch the piano in this matter, I will risk my life to make you look good." Adam sounded very funny, and said sarcastically, "Then let's wait and see. Oh, yes, I can control myself, but I don't know if your girlfriend can control me." Rushing to make you sick, Adam satirized Cyclops without any scruples, then turned and left, leaving only the ashen-faced Cyclops standing there stiffly. As soon as Adam got up and walked out, he met Jean Grey and thanked him for the incident with Dark Phoenix that night. Adam chatted with Jean Grey casually and was about to go back, but was met by Cyclops with a poker face. Stopped, Adam pushed him away with some displeasure, and walked towards Logan. Adam returned to Logan, and Logan asked, "What did Cyclops say? Did he say that Jean was his girlfriend or something?" Adam was taken aback when he heard the words, and said, "Hey, how do you know?" Logan smiled and said, "Haha, that's what he said to me last time. In fact, he is not very thoughtful, but unfortunately he is a little unconfident. When he sees a person getting close to Chin, he starts to worry." Adam shrugged and said, "I don't care what happens to him, as long as he doesn't mess with me, he's fine." After hearing this, Logan said, "Your temper seems a little grumpy." Adam was stunned for a moment, thinking, after I went through that incident, I got angry easily, maybe it was the sequelae of that incident. Recently, there are a lot of people who provoke me, and I can't control my emotions for a while. Logan loved everything he cared about. "Are you okay?" Adam smiled and said, "It's okay, it will get better after a while, maybe this is the sequelae after the breakthrough in strength. By the way, when shall we set off?" After hearing this, Logan said, "It's fine if you're fine, well, we'll leave after dinner." Sure enough, after the meal, Professor X gave everyone a wink, and then everyone followed Professor X to the office except Jean Grey, who stayed to take care of the children. Professor X looked at the crowd and said, "This time the situation is rather special. Magneto's Brotherhood has joined forces with an unknown organization to attack the local government in Gambria, Africa, and has established an illegal mutant there. The country, and brutally killed the local residents. This incident has a serious impact, so stop them before Magneto further intensifies the conflict between humans and mutants." Adam asked, "How many people will go to this operation?" Professor X said, "Magneto has gathered nearly 100 second-level mutants and several third-level mutants, and there are also a group of desperados in their so-called country to serve Magneto, so the people we dispatched this time more, except for Chin who stayed in school due to physical reasons, everyone else went to stop Magneto." Adam nodded after hearing this, but did not speak. In fact, he was not willing to let Chin-Gele go. After all, under the influence of Black Phoenix, her ability became ineffective when it failed, and it was not safe to go out. Professor X continued, the enemies this time are special and there are a lot of them, so please don't be careless. I don't want you to have fewer people when you come back. After hearing this, Adam smiled and said, "Don't worry, Professor, I will protect them." Professor X knew Adam's strength, nodded, and said, "Well, I'm sorry to trouble you." Adam smiled slightly after hearing this, and didn't speak. After all, most of the people present already knew their own strength, and they didn't think he was overbearing. Professor X continued, "Okay, that's all I have to say, let's go. I'll wait for you to come back safely." After hearing this, Logan waved his hand and said, "Don't worry, we will definitely let Magneto know how powerful we are." Professor X knew that Logan was a bit rebellious, and sometimes he liked to act alone, so he said, "Logan, this action is no better than before, and you also know that Magneto's ability can completely restrain you, so this time you must act with everyone, it is better not to act alone." After hearing this, Logan nodded indifferently, and said, "Well, this time I will act with them." Adam smiled and said, "Don't worry, Professor, I will take care of Uncle Wolf." Logan was taken aback when he heard the words, and said, "When did I get the nickname Uncle Wolf?" Adam shrugged and said, "It's always been there, don't you know?" Professor X saw that the two started talking nonsense, and said, "Well, since everyone has no problems, let's go." Everyone nodded and left the office together. The people who went to Africa this time were all professors of the school, including Storm Aurora, Cyclops Scott, Beast Hank McCoy, Blue Devil Coulter, Wolverine Logan and several people Adam didn't know. The mutant professor, Ms. Margulies code-named Magma, the Black Man Maxim code-named Speed, and Rieko's code-named Reflection. Although there are not many people, all the mutants present are third-level mutants, and they all grew up in the battle against the Mutant Brotherhood. Therefore, these people, together with the superb Adam, can completely destroy the country established by Magneto. Soon, everyone came to the hangar of X Academy and boarded the fighter jets. After saying goodbye to Professor X and Jean Grey, the plane quickly started and disappeared through the sky in a blink of an eye. On the plane, Cyclops and Storm looked at the plane, while the rest sat in their seats and prepared for the next battle. After looking at it, Adam said, "Let's get to know each other's abilities first, so that we can allocate our combat power when we fight later." Logan nodded after listening, and said, "Yes, I know everyone's abilities, let me introduce them to you. After all, we have trained together in school before." After hearing this, Adam looked at the others and said, "If you don't mind." After hearing this, Maxim said, "Don't worry, Adam, we won't mind, after all, we are comrades in arms now." After hearing this, Logan smiled and said, "This one is extremely fast, Maxim, his ability is just like his name, very fast, and his hands can shoot wind blades." Maxim grinned after hearing this, and said, "Hee hee, Adam, I know you also have super speed, maybe we can compete for a while." Adam smiled and said, "It's absolutely fine." Logan continued to introduce, pointing to the indifferent man code named Reflection, and said, "He is Rieko's, whose ability is to absorb and reflect the enemy's attacks, but now he can only reflect energy attacks, and he is also a powerful character." Adam nodded slightly after hearing this, and said, "Nice to meet you." Rieko's was a man who seldom spoke. He nodded slightly to Adam as a greeting, then closed his eyes and waited quietly for the landing. Logan shrugged and said, "You don't need to pay attention to him, he just has this temper. By the way, this beauty is Margulies, code-named Magma, and her ability is to control the magma to attack." Adam found that this beautiful woman was wearing more revealing clothes, which may be related to her ability. She transformed the X-Men battle suit into a sleeveless top and shorts, with flame tattoos on her hands and back, and her long orange hair matched her devil. The average figure is indeed a stunner. Margulies smiled slightly, and said, "Hello, Shying Adam, I have been hearing about your deeds, and I never thought that I would act together with you." Adam smiled and said, "I'm honored to meet you too, ma'am." Logan continued, "This is the professor's friend, Dr. Hank McCoy, I don't know the ability." After hearing this, Beast Hank McCoy said calmly, "My abilities are super strength and super brain." Logan continued, "I think you have seen the abilities of other people, but I am not familiar with yours, so I need you to explain it." Adam nodded and said, "Well, I know the abilities of Cyclops and Storm. As for my own ability, let me briefly talk about it. My ability is super speed, and my hearing and vision are very strong. My eyes can seeing through some objects can also emit heat rays. I have roughly calculated the temperature, which is about 3000 degrees Celsius, and the strength and defense are very strong. Adam simply talked about his ability, but still subconsciously concealed part of his strength, but this kind of ability still stunned everyone. They knew that Sha Ying was very strong, but they didn't expect it to be so strong. Logan looked at the surprised crowd, shrugged, and said, "So I said this guy is a monster. I fought with him yesterday, and he didn't use his full speed, so he tortured me like this. If I use my own speed, I don't have time to react at all." Others looked at Adam's eyes and couldn't help but feel a little awe. Adam smiled after seeing it. "Okay, everyone, don't look at me like that. We can stop Magneto's conspiracy more easily when we are stronger." Logan smiled and said, "Yes, although Adam is very strong, he is still my friend." Hearing what Logan said, the atmosphere on the plane improved a lot, and then they talked about the battle that would happen soon. At this moment, everyone heard the voice of Cyclops. "Okay, we have entered the sky above Gambria, everyone pay attention." It turned out that before they knew it, everyone had arrived at their destination, Gambilia. SHIELD, Pacific Islands Base. Nick Fury looked at the information in his hand, and said angrily, "Magneto, you're looking for trouble for us again this time. Alas, it's all because of our lack of top power, otherwise these people wouldn't be so rampant." He had previously received news that, with the help of a mysterious organization, Magneto had set up a mutant country in Gambria, Africa, and had massacred ordinary humans there. It was almost impossible to find ordinary humans in that country. They have almost been killed except for being adapted into an army by Magneto. This situation has caused a huge international sensation, and members of the United Nations and SHIELD have increased pressure on Nick Fury. If they do not quickly resolve the so-called country of Magneto, they will use nuclear bombs to attack. Nick Fury knows that if the country is really blown up with a nuclear bomb, then SHIELD will lose its value of existence, and his decades of hard work will be burned. This made Nick Fury a little angry and even more helpless. Although he usually does things by unscrupulous methods, and the methods are very dark, he still has some bottom lines. That is, he cannot harm the planet that gave birth to him, so he quickly contacted Professor X. Let them figure it out quickly. No, soon Professor X called him, saying that he had sent someone to Africa, and he also invited Sha Ying as a support. Although Nick Fury hates Sha Ying a little, he also knows that Sha Ying is very strong, and with Sha Ying in this matter, he will definitely be able to complete this matter. Nick Fury thought for a while, and said to Maria Hill, who was standing beside him, "Maria, tell Coulson to bring his troops to support the X-Men and Sha Ying, and give Natasha called and told her to go to Gambiera, Africa immediately if she could get in touch with Sha Ying." Maria Hill nodded after hearing this, and said, "Okay, I'll go right away." After speaking, he turned and left the office. Equals 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 equals. Trident Building, Washington, USA. Pierce, the former director of SHIELD, is video chatting with several people in a secret conference room. A middle-aged man with monocular glasses asked calmly, "Pierce, how are things going?" Pierce said with a smile on his face, "Hee, don't worry, Baron, I have already asked the priest to go to Africa to cooperate with Magneto, and I have completely diverted the attention of SHIELD. Can't come back, maybe we can take advantage of this time to kill that old guy." A woman in a long green dress played with her hair and said, "Oh, hee, then I'll let you handle this matter. That old guy has been hindering our plan, and it's time for him to disappear. I think he should have lived enough." Pierce said lightly, "Don't worry, Mrs. Viper, some of my subordinates are his closest bodyguards. Although we have seldom contacted, I can confirm their loyalty and I can order them to be in his car. Put something on it, and then create a traffic accident, and the old guy can disappear without anyone noticing." At this time, the Baron said, "Your plan is not bad, but don't leave any clues. By the way, you can contact a person next to him, a clown who has been eager to replace him as the chairman. Maybe he can help." Pierce nodded and said, "I see, Baron, don't worry, I won't let him live for too long." The Baron continued, Although the one in Africa is actually an abandoned child, don't let the X-Men and Sha Ying have a hard time. Give the priest the authority to use energy weapons, and let them taste the power of our Hydra. Another plan: implement it as soon as possible, and don't let the old fox Nick Fury notice it. Pierce nodded and said, "Understood, Baron." Equals 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 equals. African Gambilla Presidential Palace. In a presidential palace made entirely of metal, Magneto sat casually in his seat, looked at the guy with a fake smile in front of him, and said, "So, your organization agrees to let you use energy weapons?" The priest smiled slightly, and said, "Of course, hee. When I heard that Sha Ying and the X-Men were dispatched together, our Baron strongly supported me and allowed me to use the energy weapon that is still under development." After hearing this, Magneto said flatly, "In my opinion, you must have been abandoned by the organization." The priest's face changed, and then he returned to his smile and said, "How is it possible? Everyone in our organization is brothers, and it is impossible to abandon my brothers." Magneto sarcastically said, "Okay, don't tell me these fake things. I want to know how many energy weapons you can get." After hearing this, the priest said, "Dear Mr. Magneto, the 200 people who came with me this time are allowed to use energy weapons. The weapons will be sent to us tomorrow morning. Of course, the question is whether you can last until tomorrow morning." Magneto snorted coldly, and said, "Hee, if Charles came in person, I might be a little moved, but with the few third-level mutants under his command, they have no chance of winning at all." The priest smiled when he heard the words, and said, "Then let your people go and intercept them. The news I got is that they have been setting off for several hours." After hearing this, Magneto said, "Don't worry about this. The people in our fraternity are all very strong, plus some friends I met recently. It's very easy to stop them." Mystique. As soon as Magneto's voice fell, Mystique appeared next to Magneto. Of course, this was not a teleportation, but Mystique just became a hanger behind Magneto, so when she heard Magneto calling her, she directly it is also a deterrent to appear beside him in his original form. Magneto was very satisfied with Mystique, and said, "Hee, tell the insects to bring sonar to intercept the X-Men, and don't tell them about the existence of Sha Ying and Cyclops, let them suffer a bit." Quote, "The insects mentioned here are the third-level mutants that Magneto met in Africa. They have the ability of insects in nature. Most of them can fly, and their speed is not bad. They can emit acidic venom. They are a group of cruel people. As for the sonar, it is a mutant who can sense the position of mutants. It is also a third-level mutant that Magneto recently encountered, and has joined the Brotherhood. He can mark the mutants he has seen, so that he will not be confused during the search, and he can clearly know the location of the mutants he has marked." Mystique nodded and said, "I'll go right away. I hope the X-Men will like it." After speaking, there was an evil smile on the corner of her mouth, and she walked out of the presidential office. The priest looked at Mystique and said, "Hee, Your Majesty Magneto, your companion is really powerful." Magneto laughed and said, "You haven't seen her most powerful yet." After seeing it, the priest smiled and did not speak, then said goodbye to Magneto and left Magneto's presidential palace. Besides, Mystique, after she left the presidential palace, she came to the place where the insects gathered, and said, "You guys take your kind and sonar together to find the X-Men who invaded our country. It is best to intercept them. Come down." The leader of the insects was a black man in his 30s. Hearing what Mystique said, he said, "Oh. Hee, how many X-Men are here?" After hearing this, Mystique said casually, "How many people in the X-Men do you think can fight? Could it be that you are afraid?" More. The insect leader named Moore sneered, "No, I'm not afraid, I just want to ask how much our prey is. After all, we insects have relatively large stomachs, and the food of you humans can no longer satisfy us." Due to their own abilities, this group of insect-type mutants have given up their identity as a humanoid species and regard themselves as real Zergs. They generally eat large animals or humans, and the rumored African food human tribes are created by them. Although I don't know how Magneto got involved with these people, Mystique still doesn't like these insects. As long as you can beat them, it's up to you. Moore smiled after hearing this, and said, haha, okay, since this is the case, let's go, let that guy called Sonar come over quickly, we are ready. After hearing this, Mystique said, don't worry, I have notified the Sonar before coming to you again, and he will be here soon. After speaking, she quietly waited for the Sonar to arrive. On the fighter jets of the X-Men, because they have already reached the skies over Gambilia, everyone is vigilant, waiting for the attack from Magneto. And at this moment, Adam heard a strange sound, a sound produced by flapping wings at high speed. Adam used the clairvoyant eye to look suspiciously, and immediately discovered the owner of the voice, a group of indigenous African-like mutants with insect wings on their backs. Aurora, a group of insect-like mutants are coming in front of them. Looking at the direction they are flying, their target seems to be us. I found that they are very fast. We may not be able to shake them off. Let's find a place to land. After hearing this, Storm nodded and said, okay, everyone, sit still, we are about to land. After speaking, she and Cyclops controlled the plane together, found a relatively flat ground and landed. The plane stopped, and everyone got off the plane, waiting for each other to arrive. Cyclops frowned and asked, how many of them came? Adam said, about 30 or 40, all of them are a group of mutants with insect characteristics, and they are extremely fast. You'd better be prepared. Hearing this, everyone hurriedly hid themselves and prepared to give those insects a surprise that the enemy would not like. After about 5 minutes, everyone heard the sound of wings beating quickly, and then saw a group of about 30 or 40, with various insect wings, wearing animal skin clothes, and graffiti on their faces. Mutants with strange patterns. Just when everyone was about to give them a surprise, the leader of the insects glanced at their hiding place, showed a sinister smile and pointed down with his right hand. All the insects spit venom at Adam and their hiding place. After the X-Men saw it, they quickly dodged to avoid the attack of the venom, and their hiding place was corroded by the insect's venom to make a deep hole. Moore looked at the X-Men who was avoiding the attack of his own people, and said with a smile, hee hee, happy drinking, my lovely prey. Congratulations, you are going to be the dinner of Moore, the king of insects. In return, I will take your skull on top of the wonders of our tribe. The answer to him was a laser beam from Cyclops, but these insects easily avoided the attack of Cyclops. After all, the unique vision of insects allows them to easily catch every move of Cyclops, so they haven't started to launch yet. Laser beams, these insects are already ready to avoid. Moore said with a gloomy face, HMPH, you people who don't know what to do, attack. With Moore's order, all the insect mutants began to attack Adam and the others by firing various venoms or stingers. Adam's eyes turned red when he saw it, and he fired a heat ray, but the opponent was still able to avoid his attack. After seeing it, Adam knew that ordinary attack methods would definitely not be able to attack these insects. He immediately set off using his super speed, while using heat rays to interfere with the opponent's movements. While finding the right opportunity, he jumped more than 10 meters away very easily. An insect man's wing broke, knocking him down from midair. Logan, I will leave this guy to you. After hearing this, Logan popped out the metal claw and said, okay, no problem. After speaking, he walked over and pierced the insect's head 2 or 3 times. Adam didn't object to this after reading it, because people said before that they wanted to eat people, and Athena had learned through the SHIELD database that these people were members of the African cannibal tribe, so such people should be killed. He just promised his father not to kill himself, and he didn't say that he couldn't leave him alone. Seeing Adam's actions, Maxim said, ha 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 ha, Adam, let's compete, whoever shoots down more flies. After learning Adam's actions just now, he cut off an insect's wings unexpectedly down. After hearing this, Adam smiled and said, okay, then come on. After speaking, he disappeared again. After Cyclops saw it, he said to Storm, Storm, create some trouble for the insects, I will make them unable to fly. Storm nodded, her eyes turned white, and the entire sky darkened almost instantly. Huge storms hit, and even the insects were unable to stabilize their bodies by flapping their wings vigorously. After Cyclops sees it, he directly adjusts the laser beam to the maximum, and shoots the other insect with 2 swipes. After that, everyone uses their abilities, and a shot of magma bursts from the ground to evaporate the insect for a while. It was just a few lightning strikes and some insects that were too late to dodge ordered mature meat. In just 10 minutes, the X-Men had killed nearly 20 insects. In the sky, plus Moore as the leader, there were still insects left, several. Moore was taken aback when he saw it, and issued an order to gather all the insects towards him, and then roared. Dozens of venomous thorns suddenly appeared on his body, with a green light shining on them, which was extremely poisonous at first glance. I saw Moore inhale and then exhale. All the poisonous thorns should not be fired at the X-Men. Maybe Moore hated Storm, who played a major role in this attack, and nearly a dozen poisonous thorns shot at Storm after seeing it. Storm hurriedly used the power of the storm to block them, but the stingers were stronger than Storm had expected, and the appearance she created in a hurry failed to stop these stingers. The speed of the stinger was so fast that it was about to hit Storm, whom Moore hated the most. Adam swished to Stormy, swishing a few knives to smash the stinger, but the hardness of the stinger was beyond Adam's surprise. Although the stinger fired by Moore had been smashed, Adam's hand was also deeply scarred by the stinger. The scars on Adam's hands recovered very quickly, but this still surprised Adam. He was always confident or conceited about his physical strength, thinking that as long as he didn't use weapons of mass destruction, he couldn't get hurt, but he didn't expect the poisonous sting fired by this insect leader can actually hurt his palm. It seems that he needs to be more cautious. Storm stood behind Adam, and of course saw Adam's injured hand, and asked with concern, "Adam, are you all right?" Adam shook his head and said, "It's okay, it's recovered." After speaking, he showed Storm his undamaged hand. Storm was shocked by Adam's resilience after watching it, but since Adam is fine, that's fine. "What should I do now? I can no longer gather such a big storm like I did just now, and the opponent has also raised the altitude. No one between us can fly. The situation is not good for us." After Adam heard this, he said, "Don't worry, I have a way to keep them from flying far away. Can you give us a little wind?" Storm nodded and said, "Yes, I still have a little energy." Adam said, "Then be careful yourself. I'll go find Maxim." After speaking, he left Storm and came to Maxim. Maxim was in a bit of a panic, but he managed to help others avoid Moore's attack. He saw Adam coming to him, and asked, "What's wrong? Can Storm still use the trick just now?" Adam shook his head and said, "Not for now, but we can run quickly to create a storm. Do you still have the strength?" Maxim laughed and said, "Haha, don't underestimate me, of course I can." Adam nodded and said, "Okay, then after I give orders, I will run quickly, and Storm will help us get some wind." Maxim nodded and said, "Don't worry, I won't lose the chain at this time." Adam nodded, and said to other humans through the radio communicator, "Logan, go to Storm to protect Aurora, Cyclops and Margulies. You two pay attention to the uninterrupted attack, don't let those insects escape. Ryuko's and Dr. Hank, you adapt to the situation and protect Cyclops and Margulies." After the rest of the people heard it, they said, "Okay, no problem." Adam smiled slightly, and directly appeared and used the heat rays again to break up the gathered insects. "Maxim, it's now." When Maxim heard this, he nodded and started to run immediately. Coupled with the wind created by Storm, a huge tornado formed again, moving towards the insects under the control of the fast-running Maxim. After Moore saw it, he quickly shouted, "Everyone avoid, hurry up." Adam sneered after hearing this, and said, "HMPH, how could I let you go?" After Adam finished speaking, he quickly moved to the side of the tornado, took a deep breath, and then sprayed out a gust of icy cold air. The originally powerful tornado instantly turned into a snowstorm. The returning insects trembled before they had time to react. Their wings were covered in ice and snow in a blink of an eye, and fell from the sky with a few bang bang bangs, and were stunned or killed directly by the rest of the people. Adam shouted, "It's time to fight back. Let them try our strength." As soon as Adam and the others flew into Gambiaria, they were found by the insectmen sent by Magneto. After some fighting, Adam and Maxim worked together to freeze the wings of all the insects, and the insects fell one after another, on the ground. After watching it, Adam shouted, "Okay, let them see how good we are." Following Adam's words, everyone began to use their abilities to wipe out the remaining dozen or so insects. The only survivor in Kong was the leader Moore. This guy was cunning and let one of his younger brothers block the blow for him, so he survived. Moore looked fiercely at the X-Men below, and said, you guys wait for me, you killed the subordinates of the great wizard Lord Ains, and Lord Ains will definitely avenge us. There was a bang. After Adam saw it, he quickly moved everyone together with Maxim and Logan, and left here. When they looked back, they found that the place where they fought just now had been completely corroded by the venom splashed by Moore's self-exposure. Storm was taken aback when she saw it, and said, "Fortunately, Adam and Maxim are here, otherwise we will definitely be seriously injured." Cyclops nodded, and said, "That's right, I didn't expect him to blow himself up when he could escape, it's really cruel." After Adam heard this, he said, "Probably because he was afraid of the wizard Ainz he just mentioned. I remember that the professor gave me information about this person. He is a person who can create illusions and control thunder and lightning. The person he brought over everyone has been wiped out by us, and he will definitely be punished when he returns, so he will die." Maxim was supported by Ryuko's, and upon hearing Adam's words, he asked, "What should we do now? Should we move on?" Adam looked at Storm, who was out of state, and Maxim, who was supported by someone, and said, "There is no need to continue today, we should leave here quickly, or Magneto will send someone over again, and the few of us will not be able to handle it." Quote, except for Adam and Logan, all of these people were injured to some extent, so they did not forcefully oppose Adam's proposal, but nodded and prepared to leave. Everyone came to the fighter jets. The fighter jets were well hidden because of the electronic camouflage system, and the battlefield they chose was relatively far away, so they were not affected. As soon as they went up, the communicator inside the fighter rang. Cyclops walked over and answered. It was Phil Coulson's call. "Hello, X-Men, where are you?" After hearing this, Cyclops said, "We have entered the range of Gambilia, next to a desert." After Phil Coulson heard it, he said, "Well, if you can come to the position X87665 Z8786656. Here is one of our branches. Our director has already greeted your professor, let us cooperate with your actions." Cyclops looked at Adam after listening, and Adam had become the leader of this group of people before he knew it. Adam saw that he and others had entered here and was discovered. Magneto must have something that can find him and others. So nod. Going to the shield branch to rest is also a good choice. Of course, if he knew that Natasha had come back here, and her mission was still to get close to him, he definitely wouldn't think so. But there is no if in this world, and Adam is not a prophet, so they decided to go to the shield branch. After hanging up contact, they drove a fighter jet and flew for about half an hour to the shield division. When they got off the plane, Adam found Phil Coulson and Natasha from shield standing outside waiting. Adam recovered from a slight change in his face, and walked in front of them calmly. As an elite agent, Natasha can of course control her emotions, unless she doesn't want to control herself, so after seeing Adam, she didn't make any changes, with a charming smile on her face, said, "Welcome, come here, Mr. Shying, it is an honor to meet you." Adam nodded slightly, and said, "It's also my honor to meet the famous Natasha." Phil Coulson glanced at the situation of Maxim and the others, and asked, "Were you blocked by Magneto just now?" Adam nodded and said, "That's right, we were approached by a group of insects on the road just now, and we had a fight with them. Although we won, you also saw that everyone suffered some minor injuries. The helper Magneto has found is quite powerful." After hearing this, Natasha said, "Insect people. This seems to be recorded in our database. It is the creator and implementer of the rumor of the African cannibal tribe. A group of perverts who have long forgotten their tribe." Adam smiled and said, "That's right, it should be them, but we heard from their leader today that they are just subordinates of a wizard named Ainz." After hearing this, Phil Coulson said, "Okay, let's go back inside and discuss it. I think your partners need to rest." Adam also knew that Maxim challenged his limits this time, and said with a smile, "Well, I was still having a headache about where to sleep and eat tonight, but you just contacted us." After hearing this, Natasha smiled and said, "Hee, that's just right, we've already prepared dinner here, maybe we can talk about our future actions while eating." After hearing this, Adam paused and asked, "Could it be that you are also participating in this operation?" "It's not that I look down on you, it's just that our opponents this time are all dangerous mutants," Natasha said. "Don't worry, we can deal with Magneto's army. After all, he has already gathered some desperados in this country. Leave these people to us." Adam nodded and said, "That's up to you." After speaking, he walked into the room with Natasha and others, and he was very calm, as if he was meeting Natasha for the first time. But as an elite agent, Natasha could still feel Adam's indifference towards her. Although they seemed to have a happy chat just now, Natasha didn't see any emotion from Adam's seriousness at all. Of course, in this way, no one will be able to discover the subtle feelings between the two of them, oh well, hatred. Because they were tired from fighting just now, the X-Men left the cafeteria after going in for dinner and returned to the room prepared for them by S.H.I.E.L.D. to rest. S.H.I.E.L.D. negotiations. Adam didn't say anything after watching it. After all, it seemed that among these people, only Logan and himself were not injured, and there would be no physical exertion. Natasha showed Adam the information collected by S.H.I.E.L.D., and then began to explain. After some explanation, Adam probably understood the things here, and he was surprised that the priest would appear here. So, what happened this time is that the priest's organization is cooperating with Magneto. What kind of organization are they? After hearing this, Natasha said, "You should have heard of the Hydra organization, and this Mr. Logan fought Hydra before he lost his memory." After hearing this, Adam said, "Hydra. I only know that this is an organization that existed during Captain America's time, but hasn't it been destroyed by Captain America at that time?" After hearing this, Phil Coulson explained, "At that time, the Howling Special Forces did smash the Hydra conspiracy and also destroyed the Hydra organization. But if one head is cut off, two will be born, just like they said themselves. Similarly, they have revived in recent years and have been creating various terrorist activities around the world. Although we have always wanted to destroy this organization, we have not been able to find their leader." Natasha continued, "The last time I was captured by the priest was also because I wanted to investigate the person behind the priest, but unfortunately he ran away, but it seems that he was also abandoned by Hydra because he lost a base, so we want to capture this priest alive this time." Adam nodded and said, "Okay, in tomorrow's event, I will leave the priest to you, and the rest of us will deal with Magneto and his men." Natasha nodded and said, "Yes, but those under Magneto, please try to capture them alive. We need to give an explanation to the countries of the United Nations." Adam shook his head after hearing this, and said, "I can't guarantee you about the mutants. You can contact Professor X, and maybe he may agree to your request. What I can guarantee is that fewer people will die. That's all." After discussing tomorrow's strategy, Adam got up and said goodbye to them, left the meeting room, and returned to his own room. He really didn't want to have any more contact with Natasha. Although he had decided to forget about it, the pain of first love, how can it be so easy to forget, especially after being hurt by the woman you love deeply? However, although Adam did not intend to continue entanglement with Natasha, Natasha became more certain of her mind after the last fainting, and wanted to continue her relationship with Adam, so she just took advantage of this mission now, get ready to have a good talk with Adam. So as soon as Adam lay down, Natasha opened the door and went in. After Adam saw Natasha, he said coldly, "Hey, Miss Natasha, what are you doing in my room this night? Did your superior give you another task to seduce me?" Natasha turned pale after hearing this, and said, "Adam, I..." Before she could finish her sentence, she was embraced by Adam. With a mocking smile on Adam's face, he said, "Hee, didn't you come to seduce me? Come on, I'm just a little bored tonight, I'll give you this chance." After speaking, he reached out and grabbed Natasha, gently rubbing his chin. Although Natasha misses Adam's touch very much, she knows that Adam has no love for her now, so she pushed Adam forcefully and said, "Adam, I know you are not like this, please listen to my explanation." Adam snorted coldly. "HMPH, let me explain." "What else do you want to explain? There is nothing to explain between us." Natasha took a few deep breaths and said, "Adam, I know you hate me, but you should also understand that I have no ill intentions towards you. Although I approached you for the mission, my heart for you is true." Adam sneered, "Oh, are you true to me? Hee, who are you lying to? Ms. Super Agent?" After hearing this, Natasha said, "I know you don't believe me now, and I didn't come here today to ask you to forgive me, I just want you to know that I still love you, and my heart for you still hasn't changed. I will prove it all." After hearing this, Adam said, "Haha, you want to prove it? Well, I'll give you a chance. If you love me, then do you know what to do? After speaking, he looked at the other party very playfully, wanting to see the opponent's reaction. Natasha trembled when she heard the words. She didn't expect Adam to insult herself like this. She stared blankly at Adam, as if she wanted to get to know the person in front of her again. After watching it, Adam showed a sarcastic smile on his face, and said, "What? Didn't you say you wanted to prove your love? Didn't you want to prove your heart? Hee, come on." After hearing that, Natasha felt uncomfortable for a while, gritted her teeth, and said, "I said I would prove my love, and I will prove it to you." Just when Natasha's tears seemed to want to do something, looking at his other's tearful eyes, Adam remembered the girl who was lying in his arms and, leave this world, with infinite nostalgia and love. It was Natasha who was standing in front of him now, and he suddenly felt very ironic and heartbroken. Since he loved him so much, why couldn't he tell the truth? If he told the truth at that time, he would definitely forgive her and continue to love her. It's a pity that everything is too late. Adam looked at Natasha and said coldly, "Go away." Natasha said, "Adam." Adam grabbed Natasha and pushed her out of the room, saying, "Get out. Don't appear in front of me again." After speaking, he slammed the door shut. After Natasha was pushed out by Adam, she leaned on the door behind her to show a charming smile, and whispered, as expected, "You still like me, Adam, I will never lose you again this time, absolutely." Left. Adam in the room was in a messy mood, so he didn't notice Natasha's whispering at all. He thought about it all night and didn't fall asleep until early in the morning. The next day, Adam walked out of the room early in the morning and found that the rest of the X-Men had recovered, so after everyone had breakfast, Adam and the others left the shield. After flying again for half an hour, the X-Men fighter jets and the shield transport planes had arrived near the capital of Gamblia, and they were not blocked by Magneto on the way, which made everyone more cautious while wondering, after all, this means that Magneto is fully prepared and waiting for them in the capital. Phil Coulson said through the communicator, "Mr. Adam, what should we do now?" Adam's name was told to them yesterday. After all, it was told to other people, and it would be fine if many people knew about it. Adam thought for a while, and said, "Everyone will land here, and then I will divide into two groups and lead a team to advance. The goal is the presidential palace. If you encounter Magneto, you can retreat quickly, and we will think of other ways." After hearing this, Natasha said, "Okay, Coulson will lead the troops to follow another team, and I will lead some people to follow Adam." After Adam heard this, he said calmly, "Okay, Logan, Storm and Margulies will come with me, and the rest will follow Cyclops. Remember to contact us at any time." After Adam made the arrangements, the fighter plane landed here, and then everyone divided into two groups and quickly moved towards the capital. Soon Adam found out that they wanted to sneak attack on the Magneto troops, but what surprised Adam was that these troops held strange weapons in their hands. Weapons don't appear to be any weapons that exist. Adam made a stop gesture, and then said, "Be careful, there is a group of Magneto soldiers on the opposite side. They are holding some strange weapons in their hands, everyone should be more cautious." After hearing this, Natasha said, "Strange weapon. Can you draw it?" After speaking, she took out a notebook and pen from a soldier's backpack. Adam nodded after hearing this, and said, "Okay." After speaking, he slid his hand quickly, and within a few seconds, he completely drew the weapon he saw. Natasha was shocked when she saw the weapon in the painting, and said, "This is an energy weapon developed by Hydra before, but hasn't the cosmic Rubik's Cube been harvested by us? How can they still use these weapons?" Quote. After Adam heard this, he said, "Now is not the time to talk about this, Logan." The two of us quietly went over to take care of those people. Others remember not to be too careless. I haven't seen any traces of mutants, which is a little strange. Normal. Natasha nodded and said, "Okay, be careful too." Adam paused slightly when he heard the words, nodded to Logan, and left with a whoosh. It was only when Adam actually came into contact with these soldiers that he realized that he was wrong. These people were simply illusions. At this moment, Adam was suddenly hit by several energy bombs, and almost instantly turned his head to shoot a hot shot in that direction. But all he saw were a few smoking stones. After watching it, Adam suddenly realized that something was wrong, and quickly ordered, Natasha, listen, we met the wizard mentioned in Professor X's information. Everything I saw just now was an illusion, so from now on try not to feel free to shoot and don't trust your eyes too much. After hearing this, Natasha said, are you all right? Adam said, I'm fine. Logan, how about you? Logan's exasperated voice came from the earphones. I'm fine, but these guys keep attacking me, and I don't know which one of them is real and which one is fake. After Adam heard this, he said, hold on, I'll think of a way. These illusions are mainly aimed at our eyes. I'll try to destroy them. After speaking, he avoided several attacks with his super hearing, and then closed his eyes. Focus on thinking about countermeasures. Not far from Adam, an old man with white hair and childlike face, wearing a wizard's robe, looked into the distance with a smile on his face, as if everything was in his own hands. The priest standing beside him looked at him and asked, Mr. Innes, what's going on over there? Without the help of the wizard, the priest would not be able to check the situation in the distance, and it was also because of the help of the wizard that the soldiers who walked into the illusion were not deceived by the illusion and found Adam and Logan accurately. He is immortal, so he was not plotted by them. The wizard narrowed his eyes and said, I underestimated Xia Ying. It seems that I need to do it myself. I haven't done it in a long time. Let me let these people feel what fear is again. The priest was taken aback, and reminded, Dear Mr. Innes, I must remind you that the enemy you encountered this time is not ordinary. If you are not careful, you will be defeated by them. He is the most powerful man in the new century. Superhero. Superhero. Wizard Innes smiled contemptuously, and said, that's why you rookies like to praise your enemies like this. HMPH, in my opinion, he is a clown. After hearing this, the priest just snorted and did not speak. The incident this time was just an observation by the organization on Xia Ying, a superhero who appeared suddenly. As long as the other party's data can be collected, the organization can to formulate a strategy, choose to continue drinking Xia Ying as the enemy, or make other arrangements. Adam and the X-Men soldiers split into two groups. When he, Natasha and others led a team of S.H.I.E.L.D. When they knocked these soldiers unconscious quietly, they realized that they were not soldiers at all, but phantoms, and they fell into the trap of the wizard Innes. Fortunately, Adam just took Logan to sneak attack on this team before, so although the two of them are said to have fallen into a trap now, for Logan with super recovery ability and Adam with a man of steel, these enemies hidden in the dark, the attack doesn't work at all. As long as you find the other party's trace, whether it's Adam or Logan, they can clean up these people in a very short time. With his eyes closed, Adam moved quickly with his hearing, grabbed a soldier, stretched out his hand to grab the opponent's throat, and said, quickly tell me. Where is the wizard? The soldier just hummed twice and didn't speak. After hearing this, Adam thought that he was pinching too hard so that the soldier could not speak, so he let go of his hand a little. But he didn't expect that as soon as he let go, the soldier killed himself by crushing the poison hidden in his mouth. Adam threw the dead body on the ground in disgust, and then said to Logan, Logan, have you caught anyone alive? Logan quickly replied, no, these guys seem to be dead soldiers. They committed suicide after being caught by me. Adam, have you found a way to break the illusion? There are too many of these people, and you can't kill them all. Quote. After Adam heard this, he said, not yet, be careful yourself, I'll try to see if I can destroy this illusion. After speaking, he made a bang with his hands and jumped up. The wizard who was rushing over saw Adam's action, smiled coldly, pointed at him while reciting a spell, and a thunderbolt as thick as an arm fell from the sky and hit Adam directly, causing Adam to fall to the ground with a bang. Logan was relatively close to Adam, so he also heard the sound of thunder and lightning and the sound of heavy objects falling to the ground. He shouted worriedly, Adam, are you okay? Adam, who was struck by lightning, shook his head, stood up and heard Logan's words, and replied, I'm fine, I was attacked by that wizard. But then he found that the communicator on his body was broken by lightning, and Adam was suddenly depressed. Right after entering this place, the connection between him and Athena was broken, and now even the contactor given by the X-Men was broken by lightning, and he suddenly felt so sad. At this moment, he heard Logan shouting loudly again, closing his eyes and using his hearing. He moved towards Logan and shouted, I'm fine, the communicator was broken by lightning. I'm heading towards you, I'm walking, but don't give up your vigilance, trust your intuition, don't hesitate to attack when it's time to attack, you know my body is very strong, even if I make a mistake, I won't get hurt. In fact, Adam could use the heat ray to scan the surroundings to see if he could destroy the illusion, but many people would definitely die in this way, but he promised his father that he would not kill anyone with his own hands. So temporarily stop this thought and prepare to close your eyes to exercise your intuition. In fact, his intuition was very good before, but recently because he has been using Athena, he has not grown. In this way, he closed his eyes and relied on his intuition. After a few sneak attackers were knocked down, he suddenly felt that there was danger behind him and immediately retreated to the side. Sure enough, he heard the sound of lightning striking the tree soon after. Seeing that his attack was easily dodged by Adam, the wizard squinted his eyes and said, "Hee hee, Sha Ying, you do have a lot of abilities, but I didn't grow up a vegetarian either." Adam heard a strange voice and said, "Huh, are you that wizard named Ainz?" After hearing this, the wizard sneered and said, "Yes, I am a wizard. Since you have heard of my name, if you obediently surrender to be my subordinate, I will spare your life." Adam laughed immediately after hearing this, and said, "You are so strange, you know, I had a friend when I was young, and it always wanted to eat swan meat just like you." The wizard was furious after hearing this, and said, how dare you compare the great wizard Ainzi to a toad? Sha Ying, I want you to die." Adam shrugged and said, "Many people want me to die, but I'm still alive." The wizard laughed angrily, and said, okay. I want to see if you can still live." After speaking, he pointed with both hands, and a bolt of lightning shot out from his hand and flew towards Adam. Although Adam was trapped in the illusion and couldn't see the wizard's attack, the intuition that he had been specially training just now played a role again, and he closed his eyes and retreated to the right to avoid the wizard's attack. Of course, Adam still underestimated the wizard's attack, so he suffered a lot soon. I saw that the wizard was not surprised when he saw Adam dodging the attack, but just waved his hands again. The thunder and lightning avoided by Adam actually violated scientific principles. Let Adam stand up immediately, and finally slammed into a big rock. The wizard looked at Adam, who was covered in smoke, and said, "Haha, now you know how powerful I am." After hearing this, Adam curled his lips, stood up from the rocks, and said, "Hee hee, I'm fine. It's just right for me to give me a massage with such a little thunder and lightning." The wizard was startled when he saw it, and said, "You guys are not injured." Adam said lightly, "As I said, you can give me a massage when you come to Leiden, but I don't like to enjoy it when I'm doing business, so I have to make a quick decision." The position shot past. The wizard was taken aback when he saw it. He pulled the soldiers who came to him at some point, blocked Adam's attack, and said, "You fool can see me." Adam said lightly, "I can't see you, I just follow my intuition." The sorcerer threw aside the soldier who was seriously injured by Adam's attack, and said, "HMPH, so you are trying to hold on, so let me show you the real trick of the sorcerer." After speaking, he began to chant the spell. After Adam heard the wizard's words, he suddenly felt that something was wrong, so he heard the other party chanting a spell and fired a heat ray at the wizard with his feeling. Just when Adam's heat ray was about to hit the wizard output a very calmly, word. Weakness. Immediately, Adam's heat rays dissipated in the sky and the earth as if they had lost their energy source, and the wizard looked at Adam with a smile on his face as if he had done a trivial thing. This is the real power of wizards, curse. Nothing can escape the curse of wizards, even gods are afraid of being cursed by wizards. HMPH, sad guy, how dare you offend a great wizard, today will be your death day. After hearing this, Adam snorted coldly, "If you have the ability to unravel your illusion, we will fight fairly." He did this just to delay some time to think of countermeasures. He is not an idealist, nor is he a naive child who believes that there will be real fairness in this world. There is no absolute fairness in this world, only relative fairness, because absolute fairness means ruthlessness, which simply cannot exist in this world. Sure enough, the wizard didn't unlock the illusion at all, but said sarcastically, "Don't think about delaying time, Sha Ying, you can think about your last words, weak." After speaking, he pointed to Adam. A translucent dark green light shot out from the wizard's hand, hitting Adam, who had no time to react almost instantly. After being hit by this strange energy light, Adam suddenly felt that his physical strength began to drain at an accelerated rate. In just a few breaths, Adam was half kneeling on the ground, panting continuously. Feeling the loss of physical strength in his body, Adam couldn't help but feel a little depressed. His own abilities are good in everything and have a wide variety, but he always loses the chain when fighting against the legendary power system. It was like this when he met a magician last time. The defense is almost non-existent, and this time it is even worse. There is no way to defend against the wizard's curse. Adam was not only anxious, but thought, am I really going to die here? I don't want it. Okay, just think of a way quickly. Adam and Logan fell into the trap of the wizard, fell into the illusion and were confused. Just when Adam was about to break the illusion from above, he was struck down by a thunderbolt from the wizard. Then the wizard and Adam had a very pleasant meeting, and had the first battle. Adam almost injured the wizard with a small chance of winning, so the wizard used his bottom of the box trick curse. As we all know, Adam's defense against legendary power is 0, so the wizard's attack directly hit Adam's body. Coupled with the loss of his physical strength, he didn't even have the strength to stand up in just a few minutes. Adam half kneeled on the ground, thinking, are we going to die here? I am so unwilling. Although I was a little unwilling, it was the first time I encountered this curse, and with Adam's physique, there was no way to undo it. At this moment, Adam suddenly felt his body tremble, and a huge energy fell into Adam's body from the sky, causing Adam's exhausted physical strength to quickly recover, and the power of the curse had no time to continue to consume Adam's physical strength and was washed away by this energy up. Feeling the energy in his body, Adam was overjoyed and said, haha, I actually forgot that this place is Africa. Although I was blinded by the wizard's fantasy, there is still a sun in the sky. Isn't this the source of my strength? What a great star. The wizard was shocked when he saw it, and said in disbelief, you fool. How is it possible? How can you break my curse? Because the illusion of the sun-crazed wizard also dissipated, Adam looked at the wizard standing on his left, and said indifferently, nothing is impossible, evil will never defeat justice. When he came to the wizard, he punched the wizard in the face. Although the wizard was shocked that Adam was able to undo his curse, it didn't mean that he would be caught without a fight. He jumped back and chanted the spell at the same time, and a bone wall immediately appeared between him and Adam, blocking the curse. Adam's attack. The wizard took the opportunity to avoid the distance from Adam, and said, ha, Sha Ying, although you can undo my curse, don't be too arrogant, I am not only good at this trick. Look at my curse, slowness. After speaking, a gray optical fiber struck Adam again. But maybe the wizard really deserved it. At this time, Adam's whole body was covered with very violent solar energy. Although Adam had recovered his physical strength and broken the curse, it was still a burden for Adam now. How should I vent this energy? Unexpectedly, the wizard's attack was like pouring cold water on a fire. Although it did not neutralize the energy of the sun, it could also make Adam a little more comfortable. Therefore, Adam desperately attacked the wizard. Even if he was cursed by the wizard, he didn't care. This made the wizard a little annoyed. He kept using curses while preparing to retreat. He was really scared by Adam. But the curse of the wizard is a life-saving medicine for Adam now. How could he let the wizard escape? So he has been pestering the wizard and slowly separated from his family. On the other side, Natasha waited for a long time but did not hear Adam's reply, and then heard Logan's shout. Thinking that something happened to Adam, she was a little anxious, and said, Mr. Logan, how is Adam? I don't know. I heard his voice just now, but when I passed by, I didn't find anything at all. By the way, the illusion has been unraveled. Perhaps Adam has found a way. After hearing this, Natasha said, okay, let's go there now. After speaking, she brought her troops to Logan, and found that Logan was seriously inspecting the battle marks on the ground. Natasha asked, Logan, did you find any problems? Logan shook his head and said, I haven't found anything yet, but I believe Adam will be fine, he is very strong. After hearing this, Natasha said, I know he is strong, but where is he now? Logan glanced at the traces on the ground, and said, looking at the traces on the ground, he should have gone in that direction while fighting with the enemy. I think he must be chasing that wizard now, let's move on. Natasha nodded after hearing this, and said, okay, let's go. After finishing speaking, she calmed down and continued to walk forward with Logan. In fact, with Natasha's ability, it is possible to judge Adam's approximate location from the battle traces on the scene, but now she only thinks about Adam's comfort and cannot calm down to find clues, so she has to follow Logan. Of course, Logan saw all this, but he didn't say anything. After all, these were Adam's own private affairs. Although he was Adam's friend, he couldn't care so much, right? Not long after Logan, Natasha and the others left, Logan stopped and twitched his nose slightly, then said, "There are enemies ahead, everyone pay attention. And you, Natasha, also be careful, Adam, as it'll be fine." Logan said the latter sentence to Natasha in a very low voice. After all, if her subordinates find out that their chief is strange, it will definitely affect their morale. Natasha shuddered after hearing this, nodded slightly, and said, "Thank you." After speaking, she quickly entered the state, and regained the hot and cold Black Widow again. Logan nodded slightly after seeing it, then quietly listened to the distant voice, and then gestured to Natasha. Natasha nodded and led dozens of people away very lightly. Logan smiled slightly, gave the remaining soldiers an order to move on, and then pretended not to know anything and continued to move forward with Storm and the others. Soon Logan led a large group to the place where he noticed someone ambushing, and Logan sneered and shouted, "Get down." The S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers were really different. After hearing Logan's order, they immediately went down without any hesitation. The moment they climbed down, dozens of energy beams swished and hit the ground behind them. The soldiers quickly searched for cover and began to fight back. Seeing the S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers counter-attacking themselves after taking cover, the soldiers in ambush immediately started to counterattack. An inspiring battle seems to be about to start, but this kind of war has not yet started, because a team of people who left with Natasha just now, under the leadership of Natasha, quickly found the place where the enemy was lying in ambush, and killed those enemies. People are eliminated one by one, and this battle is over. Logan took out a cigar from his pocket, lit it and walked to the front, while Natasha also came out from the other side. Natasha asked, "Are you all right?" Logan nodded and said, "It's okay, we haven't contributed at all yet." Storm smiled and said, "That's right, Natasha, you acted really fast enough to take care of those guys so quickly." After hearing this, Natasha said, "Well, since everyone is fine, let's continue walking." Storm asked, "Don't we have to wait for Adam?" Logan shook his head and said, "No need, we have some confidence in him." Natasha also said, "Yes, I think Adam must have been waiting in front of us." Everyone set off again. This time there was no obstruction on the road, and they walked all the way to the meeting place with Cyclops, but found that Cyclops and the others were not there at all, and there was no trace of anyone coming here. Margulies asked with some anxiety, "Cyclops and the others will be okay?" After hearing this, Logan took out the communicator and said, "I'll contact him." After speaking, he pressed a few keys and waited for Cyclops to reply. But Luo Hen waited for a long time but did not receive a response, and said, "There is no response, maybe their communicator was destroyed in the battle, I don't believe that Cyclops and the others will be wiped out." At this time, Storm said, "Wait a minute, it seems that after we entered the capital of Gambilia, our communication system has been paralyzed." Natasha was stunned when she heard this, and then checked her communicator, and found that it was true, and said, "No wonder we only had to send messages after Magneto completely obtained this country, so they still have such technology." Margulies threw the communicator away with a snap, and said, "What should we do now?" Logan bit his cigar and said, "It's okay, we can just wait, we have to have confidence in our partners." Natasha nodded and said, "Yes, we should be confident. They won't be hijacked so easily." Chapter 91. When the X-Men and Natasha are worried about Adam, what is our protagonist, Adam, this handsome guy, doing? The screen turns to Adam. In a forest, there was a bang sound. The bone wall that the wizard made in a hurry was crushed by Adam's punch. The remaining force directly blasted the wizard into the ground, and the wizard protruded several mouthfuls of blood with a wow. Adam fell to the ground very lightly. He just jumped from a tree and smashed the wizard's bone wall. Looking at the wizard who was vomiting blood, he said calmly, "Mr. Ainz, I heard that you are a cannibal. Is the great wizard of the tribe also the actual controller?" The wizard Ansi coughed a few times and spat out the blood in his mouth. He forced a smile and said, "So what, Sha Ying, if you want to kill me, do it. Come on, come and kill me." Adam narrowed his eyes after hearing this, and said, "Oh. It seems that you have heard that I never kill people, so you have no fear. The wizard NC laughed out loud, and said, that's right, I knew you wouldn't kill people. What? Do you dare to kill people? Cough, cough, cough. He coughed a little excitedly. Adam said lightly, yes, I will not kill you, but I will not let you continue to live. This does not seem to be so contradictory. Wizard Eins was taken aback when he heard this, and said, what? What do you want to do? He obviously didn't know that Adam would say that. Woolen cloth. Adam seemed to be talking to himself. I heard that crocodiles in Africa are generally bigger and can eat a buffalo. I have never seen it before. Well, the weather is so good today, maybe I can consider seeing crocodiles. The wizard Einsi was terrified immediately after hearing this, and said, what? You want the crocodile to eat me? You can't do this, Sha Ying, you are a superhero, you can't do this. That said, this is not a benevolent superhero, this man is a demon. After hearing this, Adam said lightly, yes, I am indeed a superhero, but I will only protect the weak and save them from disaster. As for this powerful and great wizard, please go to hell and want you to eat it. Repent. After speaking, he directly smashed the bones of the wizard NC, carried him away from here, and walked like the nearest river. There seems to be a group of crocodiles living in these rivers in Africa this season, don't be serious. Sure enough, after running fast for nearly 10 minutes, Adam came to a river, where many wild animals came to drink by the river water, and a dozen crocodiles in the river are hiding at the bottom of the water and seem to be thinking about which one to eat. After Adam saw it, he put the wizard who was not dead in his hand into the river, and said, this should not be regarded as killing with your own hands, hee, if you just kill and set fire, I will at most cripple your hands and feet and let shield take you away, but you dare to eat people, HMPH, you have no choice but to die. After speaking, he turned and left. Just when Adam was rushing to the capital of Gambilia and the meeting place with Logan and the others, Athena's voice finally sounded. Master, are you okay? I haven't been able to contact you just now. Adam shook his head and said, I'm fine. What happened just now? Why did you suddenly lose contact? Athena explained. Master, I just checked by invading the satellite. There is a device in the capital of the country Gambilia that can block information transmission. Because it was far away from the capital, it received less interference. But I was disturbed all of a sudden just now, and I didn't even have time to report to the master. After Adam heard this, he said, so that's it, so I can't get in touch with Logan and the others now. Alas, this Magneto is indeed worthy of being a powerful scientist. Unfortunately, he wants to overthrow human society and form a society that belongs to them. Mutant society, otherwise he might become a scientist not inferior to my father. In fact, it seems to be the same. The brain wave enhancement machine was invented by Magneto, and the machine that can transform ordinary people into mutants was also invented by him. Unfortunately, his inventions revolve around mutants. When he was still with Professor X, in order to find more mutant partners, he made a brain wave enhancement machine for Professor X. Later, he parted ways with Professor X because of different ideals, and invented the machine in order to transform humans into mutants. Athena asked, so what should the master do now? What do I need? Adam said lightly, no need, Athena, since there is a jammer there, you don't have to follow me, I know the way, let me do it myself this time. Athena was surprised when she heard this, and said, don't tell me the master doesn't want me anymore. Adam was suddenly depressed, and said, what the hell are you thinking? I just want to exercise my intuition. Okay, stop making trouble. I still need to find someone. Goodbye. After speaking, he actively hung up the contact. Adam's move made Athena very angry, and she hid directly in her server and ignored New York City, and because of this, another mission arranged by Hydra happened to be done seamlessly by them, even if Adam checked it again. There is no way to find out any clues, of course, this is something for later and cannot be mentioned now. Besides Adam, after he hung up the contact with Athena, he speeded up again and ran towards the capital of Gambilia at a faster speed than the original enemy. After about 15 minutes, Adam had already arrived Villa's capital, and quietly arrived at the rendezvous point agreed with Logan, Cyclops and others. From a distance, Adam looked inside with his clairvoyant eyes, and found that everyone had returned, and Natasha was walking back and forth without her usual calmness. and his hearing is dozens of times better than that of ordinary people, and he can clearly hear the dialogue inside. No, I'd better go out and look for him. Natasha really couldn't stand such blind waiting. Logan stopped her and said, "You are crazy. Even if you were an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., you have to think about where this place is. There are more than 3 or 4 mutants here. If you go out like this, you will be exposed." Quote. Natasha frowned, and said, "You are the quality that a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent should have. I don't care what you have done with him, but please trust him and calm down. The way you look now is not at all like the Black Widow that made many people afraid, but a young girl in adolescence." Natasha opened her mouth and didn't speak. After all, she knew that what Logan said was reasonable, and she had indeed lost her composure. But since meeting Adam again in Hydra's underground base last time, she can no longer control her thoughts and love for Adam. At this moment, Adam quickly appeared in the room and said apologetically, "Sorry, I made you worry." After hearing this, Natasha said excitedly, "Adam, you're back, are you okay?" Adam frowned and said, "Remember Natasha, we are on a mission now, don't lose your temper, you are no longer a little girl, you are an agent." Although he didn't know Natasha, he didn't want to see Natasha have an accident because of himself, so he had to remind her aloud. Natasha nodded immediately after hearing this, and said, "Well, I will, don't worry." Natasha like this made Adam frown slightly, but now is not the time to talk about it, so he continued, "Okay, everyone, don't get excited, I have returned safely, and I have thrown that wizard into the belly of the crocodile inside." After hearing this, Logan said, "Okay, as long as you're fine." Storm nodded and said, "Although we haven't seen that guy, since you think he deserves death, then he really deserves death." Adam smiled after hearing this, and said, "Okay, thank you for your trust. We will talk about this guy later. Now let me ask, what happened to Logan when I left?" Logan shook his head and said, "There is no special situation, only some Hydra miscellaneous soldiers. Oh, this is what Natasha said, we have already sent them on the road, and there is no obstacle on the road afterwards." Quote. Adam nodded, then looked to Cyclops. After Cyclops saw it, he said, "Our side encountered a woman who claimed to be Mrs. Spider. Although we suffered a little injury, we have already taken care of that woman, but more than a dozen people in the army were hit by spiders. Madam died of the poison." After hearing this, Adam said, well, since most people are fine, after all, there are no immortals in wars, let's discuss how to break Magneto's game, he must have himself in the presidential palace. We can't be too careless." After finishing the Urumqi with great pains, Adam came to the capital of Gambilia, and then joined Logan and the others, and then they began to discuss how to deal with Magneto. And when Adam and the others were discussing how to fight against Magneto, they didn't know the position of themselves and others was no secret to Magneto, because there was sonar, the mutant's human body radar, so from Black Widow and when Logan and the others quietly flowed into the city, Magneto already knew their location, and the reason why he didn't make a move was to catch everyone in one go. Of course, Magneto and the others don't know that Xia Ying is here. After all, the wizard's ability is so weird. Even a saber-toothed tiger with super recovery ability can't last for a few seconds. He showed off his abilities, so Magneto didn't worry that Adam would live and the wizard would die. He decided to let a few of his men stare at Logan and them, and then wait until the vigilance of the X-Men dropped. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the X-Men. In the presidential palace, Magneto sat in his seat with a smile on his face, looked at Mystique and asked, "Riwin, did Cyclops join Wolverine and the others?" Mystique nodded and said, "That's right, the sonar just came over and reported that Cyclops and several mutants have arrived at that place, when are we going to attack?" Magneto asked, "Ruiwin, tell me, if you were Cyclops and the others, what would you choose to actually attack me?" After hearing this, Mystique said, "According to common sense, we entered this city quietly, so I will choose Night to launch an attack when the city's defense capabilities have dropped to the lowest, so that we can surprise everyone." Magneto nodded and said, "That's right, if I were Cyclops and the others, I would choose the same way, since we have already guessed the other party's plan, then we can also come by surprise, I am going to take all of them in the evening. Together, we will wipe out all the enemies who prevent our mutants from establishing a nation." Mystique smiled slightly and said, "I understand, I'll go and inform you right now." Magneto nodded and said, okay, you go, let them start to have a good rest now, but don't let the X-Men people notice. When the time comes, we will go there and wipe out all these X-Men. Quote. Mystique walked out with a smile on her face. On the other side, Logan and the others really decided to attack the presidential palace at night, but Adam shook his head and rejected their proposal. That won't work, we can't launch an attack at night, because it can be easily used by the enemy to attack us in turn, so we have to change the time. After hearing this, Cyclops said, then what should we do? Adam frowned and asked, how is everyone doing now? Logan said, because you dealt with the wizard alone on our side, no one was injured, and you can dispatch at any time. After hearing this, Cyclops said, our Ryuko's was slightly injured, and a dozen of the soldiers were also injured. Ryuko's said, it's okay, I can persevere, what I received is only a minor injury and nothing serious. Those slightly injured agents also nodded, saying that they could participate in the battle, and such a slight injury would not be a hindrance at all. Adam nodded and said, okay, I understand, don't be brave, we decided to rest for 3 hours, have a meal, and then start attacking. Natasha also said, yes, we must arrest Magneto or expel him from this country before 12 o'clock tomorrow, otherwise those guys will return to attack here with nuclear bombs tomorrow. Adam frowned after hearing this, and said in disgust, sure enough, these guys are a bunch of dirty people. After hearing this, Storm frowned, and said, you know this and informed us to stop Magneto. You don't seem to be kicking us like a nest. Phil Coulson smiled wryly. Of course not, our director tried his best to persuade those people after hearing about this incident, and then gave us some time to let you stop Magneto, that's why our head contacted Professor X, otherwise, they would have issued a launch order long ago. Adam rubbed his forehead and said, okay, everyone, don't think about it. I will mainly deal with Magneto tonight. If I can, I will catch him. If it doesn't work, I will force him back, alas. Natasha said, then be careful yourself. Adam nodded and said, don't worry, I'll be fine. By the way, Natasha, there is one thing I need you to do. Natasha was taken aback and asked, what's the matter? Adam said lightly, if you can, take a break and go out to find out where the jammer made by Magneto is, and then destroy it, otherwise we won't be able to contact those people. I don't want to die in this group of dirty people. People make mistakes. Natasha nodded after hearing this, and said, well, okay, don't worry, I will definitely complete the task. Adam nodded slightly, and said, okay, now that everyone has discussed the details of the attack, let's all go back and have a good rest, there will be a fierce battle in a while. The rest nodded, left the conference room and went back to another room to rest their eyes and rest, preparing for the fierce battle that would follow. It was already evening when the golden umbrella was hanging down. Adam, who was sitting quietly with his eyes closed, opened his eyes and said, it's time, let's go. At the same time, not far from them, Magneto, in the posture of a king, led dozens of mutants in various costumes, walking towards Adam's hiding place. The first to discover the other party was not Adam with clairvoyance, but Magneto's sonar with mutant search capabilities. After discovering the problem, he quickly reported the matter to Magneto. The above-board attack, speeding up Adam and the others, met them not long after they walked out of their hiding place. Magneto looked at Xia Ying, and said calmly, Xia Ying, I remember that you are not a mutant, you should not care about the affairs between mutants. After hearing this, Xia Ying retorted, yes, I am indeed not a mutant, and I really shouldn't care about the affairs between you, but the problem is that what you have done this time is not a matter between mutants, but you invaded the native country here. This is no longer a problem among mutants. After hearing this, Magneto said, I just want to set up the mutants' own country, what's wrong with me? Adam said lightly, I actually agree with the fact that you want to establish your own country for mutants, because in this way you can ease the relationship with humans, but you shouldn't invade this country. You can use mutants' abilities, find an island, and then use your ability to turn it into a country suitable for your survival, but you didn't do this, you chose to get something for nothing, and chose the exact same path as you hate the most. Magneto sighed after hearing this, and said, since we can't talk together, let's accept it and see the real chapter. Adam sneered, and said, okay, I just want to learn about Magneto's brilliant moves. After speaking, everyone put on a fighting posture. Magneto waved his hand and ordered, attack. Don't hold back, For our own country. Hearing Magneto's order, the mutants behind him shouted, for the future of mutants. For our own homeland. After speaking, he began to use his abilities to fight the X-Men. The scene was chaotic for a while, and the X-Men's Logan and Saber-Toothed Tiger, brothers in distress who also lost their memories, started another fight. Margulies was surrounded by several mutants. Margulies smiled slightly when she saw it, and continuously waved streams of magma through the ground and sprayed out, instantly scalding several unlucky mutants into serious injuries. Cyclops' continuous firing of laser beams quickly cleared out a space. After all, there are relatively few third-level mutants in the crowd behind Magneto, and the remaining people are not Cyclops' opponents at all. Suddenly a tongue sticking with saliva attacked Cyclops very quickly. After Cyclops avoided quickly, he found that the Toad was looking at him with a playful smile. In this way, everyone has their own enemies. The Beast is fighting the Icon, Maxim uses his speed and wind blade to clean up the last minions, and Atom confronts Magneto himself. One of Atom's heat rays was blocked by the vehicle pulled by Magneto, and the vehicles or other metal objects thrown by Magneto using his ability were all punched down by Atom one by one. The two started a new round of fighting. Magneto and the X-Men finally met, and a fierce battle was going on in the suburbs of the capital of Gambilia. With a fierce blow from Atom's right fist, the wreckage of the car whizzing towards him was broken, and he said lightly, "Magneto, surrender, you are not my opponent at all." After hearing this, Magneto said, "HMPH, you want me to surrender? It's just a dream." After speaking, he waved a few steel beads and instantly turned into steel needles, flying towards Atom at a very tricky angle. Atom just looked at it indifferently, and didn't care about the steel needles flying towards him at all. His current physical strength was many times stronger than before, and he was not afraid of the attacks of these steel needles at all. Magneto controlled the steel needles and looked at Atom's indifferent appearance. He was furious. All the steel needles pierced Atom's ears and eyes, but he obviously underestimated Atom's defense ability. These steel needles just touched Atom's body was blocked by the powerful steel body. Atom laughed and said, "Hee, your ability is completely useless to me. It seems that you won't surrender unless I beat you hard." After speaking, the speed of his feet broke through the speed of sound in an instant, and he came to Magneto and stretched out his hand to grab it. Magneto. But obviously, Atom also underestimated the old man. Although the old man has been controlling the metal, his real ability is to control the magnetic field. As soon as Atom moved, the magnetic field surrounding Magneto felt Atom's movements. When Atom was about to catch Magneto, he narrowly escaped Atom's blow. Atom looked at Magneto, who was retreating quickly, and said lightly, "It seems that I really underestimated you." Magneto smiled coldly and said, "You don't think I can only control metals, do you? Ha, you should think of my name. My name is Magneto, not King of Gold or King of Iron. It controls the magnetic field." Magneto opened the palm of his right hand and pointed at Atom from a distance. Atom was stunned and then wanted to avoid the possible attack. After all, the other party said so, he must have his own way. Well. But the imaginary attack did not come. Just when Atom wondered whether Magneto was fooling himself, he found that everyone around him was red and fell to the ground, twitching continuously. Atom was startled and asked, "What the hell did you do?" Magneto also looked at Atom in surprise, and said, "You are really different, hee, can't you guess what I did just now?" Atom frowned and said, "Did you change the frequency of the magnetic field?" Magneto laughed and said, "Yes, I can not only use the magnetic field to control metals, but also change the frequency of the magnetic field to affect other people's bodies. The magnetic field around them has been adapted by me into a disordered magnetic field, which is why this situation occurs now." Atom snorted coldly and said, "Unfortunately, your ability is indistinguishable from mine." Magneto restrained his smile and said, "Yes, I really can't control this ability, so I usually don't use it easily, but now I have to use it, because I am not your opponent and the people here are not combined. Your opponents, but they can just become my weight to make you dare not act rashly." Atom not only frowned, but said, "What exactly do you want?" Magneto said lightly, "Leave the country with the X-Men." After hearing this, Atom said, "It's impossible, we must let you leave this country, otherwise people in this country will die." Magneto said, "I can let those ordinary humans leave. I just want to build a mutant country of my own. Adam shook his head and said, this is impossible. In fact, I said before that I also agree with you to form a country, but we are all different. We have underestimated the unscrupulous methods of those dirty people. They will not give you this opportunity. Yes, even if they give you this opportunity, you will not be able to build a country, because if you build a country, you are the sinner of mutants. Magneto asked puzzledly, what? I will become the sinner of mutants. HMPH, what do you mean? Adam continued. You may not know it, because you attacked this country. Those dirty people are afraid that you will summon powerful mutants and eventually threaten their rights, so they decided to drop a nuclear bomb on this country. After hearing this, Magneto said, this is impossible. Did they forget the international regulations? Adam shrugged his shoulders and said, it is said that you are mutants, and you are standing in front of the entire human race. This is why I don't approve of your establishment of a country. If your mutant country is established, then what is waiting for these mutants? It can't be tolerance and respect, but a nuke or two, because there are so few opportunities for mutants to come together on such a large scale. Magneto was shocked when he heard this, and said, I almost made a fatal mistake. Adam nodded, and said, that's right, you almost burned the lifelong protection of you and Professor X. Now these people can't target the mutants because they are afraid that the famous mutants will retaliate against them, and because the number of mutants is not low, they can't distinguish them one by one, but if you establish a country, it will be different. If you establish a country, they can recognize your rationality in the early stage, but in the end, when one of you can be safe and free when you live in this world, they will show their fangs and tear you apart. Magneto was silent after hearing Adam's words. He thought of some powerful mutant predecessors he had met before, and also thought of the way they looked at children when he invited them to join the Brotherhood, and what he said when he refused. This, after all, the world is a human world, and if mutants want to live in this world, violence is not a good way. But the young and energetic Magneto ignored these well-intentioned persuasion at that time. He just thought that these old guys had lived a long time. Without the vigor, impulsiveness and vigor of their youth, they were already a group of ordinary people waiting to die. Now that Magneto heard Adam's words, he felt the conscientiousness of those predecessors, but it was too late. He had traveled a long way on this road, and he couldn't turn his head back. Magneto sighed softly, and said, okay, I will leave this country, but I will take my subordinates with me. I can't let them stay in the hands of the government. They are likely to be sent to the lab, which I will never allow. After Adam heard this, he said, yes, but there are a few people you must keep. You must keep the Icon and the Toad. We have to give those people an explanation, and even this person has killed hundreds of people before. They need justice. After hearing this, Magneto laughed, and said, sanctioned by law. What about me? I have killed many people too. Adam said indifferently, don't worry, I will catch you with my own hands one day and bring you to justice. This time it's just a tie. If it wasn't for them in your hands, I wouldn't let you leave here at all. Magneto smiled slightly and said, hee hee, then I will wait. Adam glanced at Magneto and said, okay, let them go quickly. Although their lives are not in danger now, this disordered magnetic field is always harmful to humans. After hearing this, Magneto said calmly, okay, I will trust you for a while today. After speaking, he waved his hand to restore the magnetic field. Although the magnetic field has been restored, regardless of whether it is the X-Men or the Magneto side, except for these two people, they have lost their ability to move. When Magneto saw it, he frowned slightly and waved his hand to pull a long stick from the side. Steel bars tied up those mutants, and controlled them to leave slowly. Adam looked at Magneto, who was going away, and shook his head slightly in one direction, then came to Logan and began to check the situation of these people. At the same time, Magneto, who had already walked away, paused, put down the arm that was about to move, and continued to walk outside with a smile on the corner of his mouth. On a tall building not far from them, Natasha put down the sniper rifle in her hand after seeing Adam's movement, and then heard the steel thorn falling to the ground with a bang, and she trembled all over, knowing that it was Adam just now. After saving his life, he was secretly relieved and at the same time felt sweet in his heart. It seemed that Adam didn't care about her. Magneto and Adam both planned to attack each other at 6 o'clock in the evening, but met each other halfway and started a fierce battle. The battle lasted for a long time, from 6 o'clock to around 10 o'clock in the evening, and then Adam and Magneto officially fought. After some battles, Magneto lost to Adam, and finally resorted to an indiscriminate attack so that both sides were recruited at the same time. We had no choice but to let Magneto go. After Magneto left, Adam came to Logan and asked, "Logan, are you okay?" Logan shook his head and said, "It's okay, ha ha ha, I never thought that I would taste the feeling of being close to death one day when I have an immortal body. It's really uncomfortable." After seeing it, Adam exhaled, and said, "Okay, now that you have recovered, help me transport these people into the room. They don't have the recovery ability like you, and they may need to rest for a few days to fully recover." Woolen cloth. Logan stood up and said, "Okay, I'll help you." After speaking, he and Adam moved Cyclops and others who had hit the ground to a room. At this time, Natasha walked over from a distance, looked at Adam and said, "Thank you for protecting me just now." Adam shook his head and said, "I just don't want anyone to die in front of me." "Okay, has the signal jammer been destroyed?" Natasha nodded and said, "Well, it has been destroyed. Do I need to contact the general administration?" Adam nodded and said, "Get in touch, I have saved a few people for you at Magneto. You can punish these people for your crimes. Anyway, these people deserve what they deserve, and then send a transport plane over quickly, although if these people are not treated in time, if not, the consequences will be severe." Natasha nodded after hearing this, and said, "Okay, I'll get in touch right away." After speaking, she contacted Nick Fury directly beside Adam. "Natasha, how is the situation on your side?" Nick Fury's voice showed a trace of fatigue. Natasha was a little puzzled, and said, "The task has been completed, but Magneto and Mystique ran away, and we captured a few mutants here. What's wrong with you?" She knew that Nick Fury was usually not like this. At any time, he looks too calm and cold, as if he doesn't care about anything. Nick Fury sighed softly after hearing this, and said, "In this case, you should come back quickly. There is an emergency here in New York, and I need your help." After hearing this, Natasha asked, "But what about here? There are many wounded here, and they need treatment." Nick Fury explained, "Okay, Natasha, you leave the matter over there to Coulson. The matter in New York is more serious. The Howards died in a car accident at noon today. I need you to come over and investigate this matter." As soon as Nick Fury finished speaking, Adam snatched the phone Natasha was talking about. Adam's voice was full of hesitation and trembling, and he asked, "What did you say?" "The Howards were in a car accident." After hearing this, Nick Fury asked, "Who are you? Why are you holding Natasha's communicator?" Adam roared angrily, "Say it. Tell me, what happened to the Howards?" Nick Fury seemed to realize something, and said, "They had a car accident at noon today. When the ambulance arrived, the Howards and their housekeeper were already dead. You only need to do a little research to find out the news." Adam stared blankly at the communicator, and said, "How is this possible? How is this possible? Are you lying to me? Are you telling me?" Nick Fury shook his head and said, "I don't need to lie to you, and I don't know who you are." Before Nick Fury finished speaking, the communicator was snatched by Natasha and turned off. After watching it, Adam yelled at Natasha, "What are you doing?" Natasha hugged Adam gently, and said, "Adam, I know you feel uncomfortable now, but if you keep asking, Nick Fury will guess your identity." Adam's tears came out drop by drop, and he said hoarsely, "My parents are gone, I have nothing, what's the use of hiding my identity? Ha 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 ha, what kind of superhero am I? You can't even save your parents." Natasha slapped Adam on the face after seeing it, and said, "Have you forgotten your brother? Have you forgotten your girlfriend? Your brother needs your comfort now. Do you want to be there all the time? Is it okay to cry here? You still have your brother, your girlfriend, you still have me." Adam paused after hearing this, and said, "Yes, I still have Tony, yes, I still have Tony." After speaking, he suddenly remembered something, and opened the link with Athena. Because there was no interference, the moment Athena was contacted, Athena's figure appeared in front of Adam, and said anxiously, "Master, you finally opened the link, I am so anxious to death." Adam looked at Athena and asked, "Athena, tell me, are my parents still alive? All this is just a shield drama, isn't it?" Athena paused after hearing this, and said, "Master, you must mourn, your parents have indeed passed away at noon today." kneeling on the ground with a bang. The luck that he still had before was wiped out by Athena, and his parents were gone. The way of life that has always been given to me, the parents who always look at me lovingly and support me no matter what I do are gone. Ah! Adam raised his head and roared, as if he wanted to vent his grief and indignation. At this moment Athena said anxiously, "Master, come back quickly, they are going to bury your parents. If you don't come back, you won't even see them for the last time, and little Tony has been looking for you. Hurry up, come back, Master." Adam was stunned when he heard this, and said, "That's right, I can't even see my parents for the last time." After speaking, he stood up blankly and wanted to go out. After seeing it, Natasha hurried over and said, "Adam, wait, our transport plane is coming soon, we will take you there." With blank eyes, Adam shook his head and said, "No, I can't be late, I can't miss the last sight of my parents, Tony is waiting for me." After speaking, he disappeared suddenly. After Natasha yelled a few times from behind, she sighed softly and walked into the room. Logan came over and asked, "What happened? Where is Adam?" Natasha wiped her tears and said, "His parents died in a car accident today. He rescued them after hearing the news." Logan opened his mouth after hearing this, then sighed softly and didn't say anything, just prayed secretly in his heart, "I hope you can survive this, kid, I don't want to lose you as a friend." Single quote. On the other side, Adam ran desperately, and his speed became faster and faster, which had already surpassed the previous speed, but Adam was not satisfied at all, he wanted a faster speed. The cold night wind seemed to wake him up a little bit, and he ordered, "Athena, calculate my speed, and tell me the shortest way to New York." Athena asked Adam to come back just now by letting Adam come back by plane instead of running back like this. After all, although Adam's speed is super fast, the distance between Africa and New York cannot be reached by running. Not only is she a little worried about Adam. "Master, you can't run like this." After hearing this, Adam said coldly, "Tell me the line, Athena." After hearing this, Athena said aggrievedly, "Okay, Master, this is the shortest route, but you need to cross the ocean, what are you going to do?" After Adam heard this, he said very seriously, "As long as my speed is fast enough, the ocean can also run over." This is the memory that flashed into my mind just now. It seems that the person called the Flash in my memory can walk on buildings or on water at a super speed, although I don't have what the Flash in my memory has. The speed force, but Adam can only let it go now. Athena has been unable to stop Adam, but she also calculated it just now. In theory, this proposition can indeed be established, but she is a little worried about Adam's speed. Is this really possible? But Adam has no time for the test. He just wants to go back to New York quickly, and he just wants to see his parents again. He still needs to investigate the whole incident, whether this car accident was artificial or not. In this way, Adam quickly came to the vicinity of the ocean, but his eyes were firm and he rushed in without fear. The sea water was pushed open by Adam with a bang. Although Adam had sunk a lot, fortunately, he did not continue to sink, but continued to run forward with that little bit of buoyancy, faster and higher, and finally Adam was really able to run on the surface of the sea. Athena looked at Adam, and murmured, "It's really possible, the speed of the Master is so happy now, wait, what's going on? Oh my God, the Master is not running at all, but is, flight." After Adam dissuaded Magneto, he asked Natasha to contact Nick Fury and ask the other party to send someone to transfer the injured to the hospital for treatment. Unexpectedly, he heard the terrible news from Nick Fury: his parents Howard Stark and Maria Stark were in a car accident. After hearing this, Adam was very sad, and after contacting Athena to confirm that the incident was true, he left Natasha and others and prepared to run to New York. On the other side, Manhattan, New York. Tony sat in the room with blank eyes, watching the people who were busy coming in and out, but their heads were empty. Just a few hours ago, he had another argument with his father, and he decided to go out with them to watch a movie together. Tony slammed the door angrily, left the house, found a few models, and came to his brother's bar, ready to vent his grievances. But he didn't expect that after just a few hours, he actually received a call from the police, saying that his parents and the old housekeeper who had always been good to him had died in a car accident. How could he accept this blow? After that, he rushed from the bar to the hospital in a daze, and saw his father lying quietly on the hospital bed, He just lay on the bed like this, making Tony think he was just sleeping. He called the old man a few times, but he didn't hear back from him. In the matter of preaching, there will be no situation where you will look at yourself coldly when you see yourself, because he is gone, leaving this world forever. Tony always felt that since his father didn't like him very much, then he certainly wouldn't care about him that much, but he was wrong, outrageously wrong. When he saw his father lying motionless on the bed, he panicked. He couldn't live without his father. He knew that his father had high demands on him and wanted him to surpass him and his brother one day, but he always lacked. I think it's just that he doesn't want to see me, but now that I think about it, his expectations of myself are higher than what I imagined. Tony cried. This playboy who always smiled like a girl cried like a girl, because he lost 3 people who cared about and loved him the most in one day. How could he not cry? And at this moment, Opadestin came in from the outside, walked up to Tony and patted Tony on the shoulder lightly. After Tony saw it, he hugged Uncle Opadri and cried loudly. Obadestine asked Tony where he was going, but Tony couldn't tell. He already had such an older brother, and he couldn't let him fall into crisis. His older brother is a superhero. Although he rarely contacted him recently, he could still feel the strong brotherhood from his brother, so he didn't tell Obade about his brother. Tony told Obade that his brother would be back and he was just out on errands, but he himself was a little worried about his elder brother. He had heard from his father that his elder brother had gone to do a more difficult task. He also called Athena, but according to Athena, because the signal over there because of being blocked, Adam lost contact with Athena before, and he couldn't take the initiative to contact Adam. He began to worry about his elder brother. He wasn't sure if he would lose his elder brother too. After all, he had dinner with his parents a few hours ago, and then he had a fight with his father, but who could, knowing that in just a few hours, I can no longer quarrel with my father, nor can I enjoy the tender maternal love of my mother. Thinking of these things, Tony began to cry again. Time passed slowly. Although Tony tried his best to drag the time, he also knew that there was no way to drag it any longer. No, Obadestine came again. Tony, we should let Howard and Maria rest in peace. We can't wait for your brother anymore. After hearing this, Tony could only agree. After all, it has been so long, and this kind of thing cannot be delayed. He has just invited the best body cosmetologist to prepare for his parents to leave. It seems that the matter has been completed. Okay, let's get started, and also inform the guests who are going to attend the funeral that the venue is Arlington National Cemetery. Obadestine nodded slightly, and walked out. At this time, Adam's girlfriend Christine came in wearing a black morning dress, hugged Tony gently, and said, "Sorry, I'm a bit late, sorry, Tony." Tony sighed softly, and said, "Thank you, Christine, it's good that you're here." Kristen looked around and asked, "Where is Adam? I tried to call him but he didn't answer." Tony shook his head gently, and said, "He's not here. He went to do an important thing a few days ago, but don't worry, he will come back, I believe that." After hearing this, Christine said, "So Adam doesn't know about this yet?" Tony nodded and said, "Yeah, he doesn't know about it. I hope he can stay calm after hearing this, and don't do something stupid when he gets angry." At this moment, Obadestine walked over again and said, "Tony, the notice has been sent, and we can go." Tony nodded and said, "I see." Obadestine only discovered Christine at this time, and then saw her wearing mourning clothes, frowned and said, "What's going on? Where did Adam go by himself? Could it be that he asked a woman to replace him under such circumstances? Can't come out." After hearing this, Tony said in a deep voice, "Okay, Uncle Obade, my brother hasn't come back yet, but he will definitely come back, and Christine is Adam's girlfriend whom both my parents have met. She has the right to be here." Obadestine obviously didn't expect Adam and Tony to be so close. After all, Tony and Adam seldom travel together, and Obadestine has no way of knowing what's going on at home, so while Howard died and Adam was still there, I didn't have the opportunity to be there, and the plan to separate the two brothers was cut in half by a word from you before it even started. After hearing Tony's colder words, Obadestine smiled sarcastically and said, "Sorry, I don't know the relationship between Adam and Miss Christine yet." After hearing this, Tony said apologetically, "Sorry, Uncle Obade, I'm in a bad mood." Obadestine patted you on the shoulder and said, "It's okay, I understand your feelings. But we should go, after all, we are going to the Arlington National fundraiser. Tony nodded and said, then, let's go. After speaking, he took Christine out of the room together, but he didn't see the viciousness in Obadestein's eyes that kept flickering behind him. Arlington National Public Offering. As a figure who has contributed more to the United States, Howard Stark is also the founder of S.H.I.E.L.D., so he is qualified to lie in this place. Tony received a notice before that the government specially sent a transport plane to deliver the remains of Howard and his wife. This was Tony's request. He wanted his parents to lie in one place, and the government also agreed. After all, Howard's residual power is still there. The sky was shrouded in dark clouds, as if God also came to see the Howards off. In the cemetery, you can see many characters that could only be seen on TV in the past. Of course, this is for ordinary people. Howard and Maria lay quietly in the coffin, each holding a bouquet of flowers in their hands. The pastor saw that everyone had arrived and began to read the scriptures. Tony and Christine listened quietly to the pastor's scriptures, while secretly worrying about the fact that Adam hadn't arrived yet. After all, many people had asked about Adam's whereabouts just now. If Adam couldn't explain later, it would be may gain a notoriety that cannot be washed away. After the pastor finished speaking the scriptures, he signaled that it was time for the burial. Tony opened his mouth slightly after hearing this, wanting to make people wait a little longer, but Obadestein stopped him. After all, it is not a way to make so many people wait. After seeing it, Tony nodded helplessly and agreed to the burial. Wait a minute. At this moment, a voice came from the air. Everyone was shocked when they heard this, and then saw the figure falling directly to the coffin of Howard and his wife from the air, kneeling down slowly. The Howards died on the spot because of the original intention of the car accident. Of course, this is the official statement. The real reason was that they were assassinated by Hydra, but because the matter was done seamlessly, the police did not suspect that it was a homicide. When the news of the Howards' death reached Adam's ears, Adam almost collapsed. Fortunately, Natasha reminded him that he still had his younger brother Tony. Adam regained his sanity and hurriedly asked after visiting Athena. He left Gamblia with Run, and was ready to go back to New York immediately to see his parents for the last time. Through the analysis of Athena, Adam told Adam that if he wants to get from Cambria to New York in the fastest time, he must cross the ocean. Only in this way can he feel New York before the Howards are buried. After hearing Athena's analysis, Adam ran to the sea without hesitation. His speed was getting faster and faster. From the beginning, he could only run on the bottom of the sea and gradually changed to running on the surface of the ocean. Finally, his height gradually increased. Slowly leaving the sea and running turned into flying. At first Adam didn't realize that he was flying, because he was full of thoughts of going faster, and when Athena found out that Adam was flying, the speed increased again, so she quickly reminded Adam, but Adam was caught. After the reminder, he almost fell into the sea because he couldn't control his body. After some hard work, Adam finally learned how to fly, so he flew to New York at a faster speed. At this moment, Athena informed Adam, saying, "Master, your parents have been transferred from the villa to Arlington National Cemetery, and we need to fly there." Adam nodded after hearing this, and said, "I see." After speaking, he accelerated and flew to the Arlington National Public Fund. Soon, Adam saw the Lincoln Monument in the distance, and then saw the Arlington National Cemetery, saw some celebrities including the President of the United States, and also saw Tony with a haggard face and Christine standing beside him. But at this time, he with super hearing heard Obadestein's words, knowing that he would never be able to see the last side of his parents if he didn't hurry up, so he yelled, "Wait a minute." The danger of identity exposure landed directly in front of the coffin and stopped the priest. Adam's sudden entry surprised everyone. They didn't know why the superhero came back here, and he seemed to want to mourn the Howards. Obadestein looked at it and said coldly, "What do you want to do? Even if you are a superhero, you can't be so arrogant and not let people rest in peace." After hearing this, Adam stood up and said, "I just want to see my parents for the last time." After speaking, the shirt on his body quickly disassembled and reassembled into a black daughter-in-law, and the mask on his face became a pair of glasses. Everyone was shocked at this time. They didn't expect that this superhero heroine turned out to be Howard Stark's son Adam Stark. This made these people even dream of something that happened like this. Seeing everyone's expressions, Adam said, "Everyone, please ask about my identity in the future. Today is my parents' funeral. I don't want to talk about other things." Looking at the figure lying quietly in the coffin, tears flowed quietly again. Although everyone had 1,000 words in their hearts and wanted to ask, they also knew that it was really not the time, so they looked at Adam quietly, and some girls who admired Adam secretly wiped their tears after seeing Adam crying. Tony walked up to Adam, patted Adam on the shoulder lightly, and said, "Brother, cheer up, you know father doesn't like us crying." After hearing this, Adam hugged Tony, with tears streaming down his face, and said softly, "I'm sorry, Tony, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be a superhero, I shouldn't go to Africa, I'm sorry." Tony sighed after hearing this, his eyes were red, and said, "Listen, Adam, we don't want to do this, and I didn't expect such a thing to happen. You know, I had an argument with him just before fight, but who knows that I will lose them in a blink of an eye." Seeing the two brothers embracing each other, all the guests couldn't help sighing. Howard should be satisfied with having such two sons. Even if Howard left, he still didn't turn against each other because of the inheritance. This is indeed the case in such a big family. It's rare. After seeing that Adam was Sha Ying, Obadestine put away the years in his heart a little bit, looked at the two brothers who were embracing and crying, walked over and patted their shoulders, and said, "Okay, Adam, Tony, it's time for Howard and Maria to rest in peace, and we have to move on and not blame ourselves for this." Although Adam didn't like Obadiah, what he said made sense after all. Adam nodded slightly and said, "Thank you, Uncle Obadiah, let's bury it." Obadiah thought that Adam had officially recognized him, so he was immediately happy, and said, "Well, it's okay, although you have lost your parents, you still have each other and my uncle, so don't be sad." Tony nodded and said, "Thank you, Uncle Obadiah." After speaking, he signaled the pastor to continue. Although the pastor was very surprised by what happened in front of him, he did not forget his duty, so after seeing Adam and Tony's eyes that they could be buried, he continued the ceremony that was interrupted by Adam just now. Howard Stark and Maria History Tucker's coffin slowly fell into the cemetery. Two brand new tombs were erected, and the guards of honor began to play funeral music. The President of the United States handed the triangular flag folded by the soldiers to Adam, saying, "Your father has made a lot of contributions to the United States, and you have also become a superhero. I hope you don't forget that you are an American, you have to learn more from your father, please be sorry." Adam nodded slightly, and said, "Thank you, Mr. President, I will always remember who I am." Although he doesn't like these politicians chatting, Adam can still say polite words. The President of the United States smiled, shook Adam's hand tightly, and then shook hands with Tony, before leaving because of his busy schedule. Afterwards, some high society patriarchs or heirs came to express their sympathy to Adam and Tony, and after saying a few condolences, they also slowly left the cemetery. After a busy hour, Howard's funeral ended in a very simple way. Adam and Tony declined Obadiah's invitation to go home for dinner together, and took Christine back to Howard Stark's villa. Christine was silent on the way. Adam knew what Christine was thinking, held her hand gently, and said, "I'm sorry, I actually wanted to tell you," but, before he could finish speaking, he was caught by Chris. Ting stopped. Christine shook her head and said, "Okay, Adam, I won't be angry because of this matter, you are also very tired today, take a good rest." Adam nodded slightly after hearing this, but did not speak. He actually didn't have any strength to speak now. After several battles, he was almost killed by the strange power of the wizard. If his energy source was not the sun, Adam would have died by this time, but although he was rescued by the ability of the sun, his body could not absorb all the energy for a while, which made him spend a lot of thought. Although he was fine, he fought with Magneto and returned from Africa on the plane. Arriving in the United States, Adam was very tired that day, so once he relaxed, he could no longer hold on to his drowsiness, so he just fell asleep on the sofa in the living room. Tony looked at Adam with a tired face, sighed softly, and said, "Christine, I hope you don't blame my brother for not telling you who he is. He did this to protect us, and he was afraid that his enemies would know it will hurt the people he loves after taking his identity." Christine gently stroked Adam's face and said, "I know, I don't blame him, I just feel that I am not worthy of him." Tony shook his head and said, "You can't think like this. You are the one my parents are satisfied with. I think you are my sister-in-law. Well, you should go back and rest, you are tired today. After hearing this, Christine asked, what about Adam? Tony chuckled and said, it's okay, he's in good health, don't worry about it, and we can't bring him back to the house, so we have to let him sleep here. After hearing this, Christine said, okay, go back and rest too, you're tired today too, I'll go to bed later. After speaking, she sat quietly beside Adam. Adam fell directly from the sky on the day of the funeral, letting everyone know that the so-called Shying is Howard Stark's eldest son, Adam Stark. Because today is Howard Stark's funeral, everyone temporarily suppressed their curiosity, ready to find a time to ask what happened. Of course, for the media who attended the funeral, this could be an explosive news. All the reporters took down the picture of this moment and prepared to report it in the next day's newspaper. There were also quite a few media who attended the funeral that day, so the news that Adam Stark was a knight-errant had already appeared in all cities in the United States early the next morning, which surprised everyone. At Kay's funeral, he revealed his identity. No one can imagine a playboy and a superhero together. Shield, New York branch. With a slap, the newspaper in his hand was still on the table, and Nick Fury said with a dark face, Dear Natasha, how do you explain this matter? Natasha also had a shocked look on her face, and said, I didn't expect Sha Ying to be Adam, sorry, I made a mistake, although I spent a while alone with him in Africa, I didn't expect him to be Adam, after all, the difference is too big. Nick Fury became angry immediately after hearing this, and said, Are you still quibbling? It was a lie to meet Adam Stark after the last so-called mission. It should be Adam Stark who saw you in Hydra's underground base. Only then will the priest have a chance to escape. Another time, when you called me, he was by your side, are you on good terms again? Want to join forces to deceive me? Natasha said with a cold face, what I said is true, and it's not like you don't know how good Sha Ying's hearing is. HMPH, since you don't trust me, then I'll just resign. Nick Fury paused after hearing this, and said, what do you think we are here? Resign if you want to resign. Do you think this is playing a game? Natasha said with a blank face, you promised me at the beginning that if I don't want to do it, I can leave at any time. Are you trying to keep your word? Maria Hill couldn't stand it anymore, and said, you guys are getting off topic. What we have to do now is to deal with Adam Stark. We now know that he is Sha Ying, and his actions also let everyone know his identity, what should we do now? Nick Fury snorted coldly and said, it seems that I need to meet him in person. After hearing this, Maria Hill said, I think the last person Adam Stark wants to see is you. Have you forgotten about Natasha? Nick Fury was taken aback after hearing this, and said, I'm confused, let Coulson talk about it, it seems that he hasn't had a bad influence on Coulson. Natasha sarcastically said, so Coulson is better at being a man than you. Maria Hill was speechless after seeing it, and said, can you stop arguing? We are discussing business. Nick Fury snorted coldly and said, okay, Natasha, don't make trouble anymore, and quickly check the matter of Howard Stark and his wife. I have some doubts about this car accident. It's too coincidental. It's not normal to focus on Africa. Nick Fury, who was suspicious by nature, always felt that this matter was a bit too coincidental, so he insisted on asking Natasha to check it out. Natasha nodded after hearing this and did not speak. Although she hated Nick Fury a little, but this guy's intuition is really good sometimes, and I can also go through this incident to ease the relationship with Adam. Nick Fury nodded slightly after seeing it, and asked, right. Where's the priest? It was agreed to capture him alive. Why is there no such person among the captives? Did he escape again? After hearing this, Natasha said, the priest has been torn apart by Wolverine, because we were stopped by the illusion of the wizard, so I didn't have time to let him capture the priest alive. When I arrived, I found that the priest was dead. Nick Fury frowned and said, have you confirmed it yourself? Natasha nodded, and said, I've confirmed it, and I've burned his body, but he's too dead to die. Nick Fury nodded and said, okay, I see. After hearing this, Natasha and Maria Hill knew that the other party was chasing guests, and Natasha didn't want to stay here any longer, so she left Nick Fury's office with Maria Hill after leaving. Nick Fury pondered for a while, picked up the phone and dialed a number, and asked, Doctor, how is the situation on your side? An indifferent voice came from the other side. Tomorrow he will conduct the last experiment. I have tampered with the equipment, haha. Tomorrow we will be able to see the power of that potion, so that I can prove my research room is correct. After hearing this, Nick Fury said, don't worry, as long as there is a result, you will get everything you want. After hearing this, the doctor laughed and said, then just wait and see. After speaking, he hung up the phone. On the other side, after Adam woke up in the morning, he found that Christine was leaning on the sofa and fell asleep with his head on the sofa. Adam felt pity when he saw it. Christine was about to take Christine to her room, but unexpectedly, Christine woke up. Well, you're awake, honey. Adam nodded and said, yes, I'm awake, you little fool, why are you sleeping here? After hearing this, Christine said, I want to be with you, and I don't want to leave your side at this time. Adam smiled and asked, aren't you angry? You didn't speak yesterday. I thought you were angry. Christine shook her head and said, actually, I've never been angry at all, I just feel that I'm not good enough for you. After hearing this, Adam nodded Christine's nose, and said, what a fool, don't think about it in the future, you know, you are my Adam Stark's girlfriend, you have to have some confidence in yourself. Christine hugged Adam and said, well, I won't think about it anymore. I thought about it all night last night. I can't live without you. Adam, I love you. After hearing this, Adam said softly, I love you too. After speaking, he hugged Christine gently. Adam had already lost his parents, and he didn't want to lose anyone anymore. After a moment of tenderness, Christine broke free from Adam's arms and said, go and see Tony, he had a hard time yesterday, and he has been blaming himself for the quarrel with your father before. Adam nodded after hearing this, and said, okay, go and rest for a while, there are a lot of things to do today. Christine nodded and said, okay. After speaking, he left. Adam came to Tony's room and knocked on the door, but there was no response. Adam frowned and walked into the room, only to find Tony staring blankly at the family portrait in his hand and weeping. After Adam saw it, he felt uncomfortable for a while. Tony, are you all right? Tony wiped his tears after hearing this, and said, well, it's okay. I just remembered the past, why are you here? Adam said, I'm sorry, Tony, if I hadn't left, maybe I could have saved my father and mother. Tony shook his head and said, I know we don't think about it. We should look forward and not be depressed. Adam couldn't help laughing after hearing this, and said, hee hee, I came here to comfort you, but it turned out to be a good thing, and I need your comfort instead. After Tony heard this, he said, hee hee, whoever made us brothers. It doesn't matter whoever comforts anyone. We only have each other now. Adam said, okay, Tony, you also know that today we need to meet with lawyer Steven to deal with some things, hurry up and wash up, the time is almost up. Tony nodded and said, well, okay. Adam smiled and turned to leave Tony's room. Elder brother. Adam turned to look at Tony and said, what's the matter? Tony smiled slightly and said, it's nice to have you. Adam's heart warmed, and he said, hee hee, I thought the same way, well, stop thinking about it, and get ready. After speaking, he turned and left Tony's room, wiping away his tears quickly. Adam, who walked out of Tony's room, vowed secretly that he would never let anyone hurt his relatives again, not even God. He vowed to protect Tony well until he really grew up. Adam looked at the portrait hanging in the living room, and said gently, don't worry, I will protect my brother. Howard Stark and Maria Stark passed away, which caused a lot of blows to Adam and Tony, and because Adam landed in Arlington National Cemetery regardless of his identity on the day of the funeral, people all over the world were shocked. I know that Adam Stark is a superhero heroine. Of course, this has no effect on Adam. What he is mainly busy with now is to cheer up Tony quickly so that he can inherit Howard Stark's position. As for himself, although he is not worth as much as his father, but still a self-made billionaire, he doesn't need to inherit Stark Industries at all, and he doesn't like the military-industrial group very much. But when Adam woke up the next day and saw Tony, he realized that although Tony usually felt a little foolish, he was stronger than Adam imagined. Adam smiled gratifiedly, and after getting Tony to prepare quickly, he walked down the stairs, and secretly vowed in his heart that he must protect his brother and Christine, and then went to the kitchen to make a simple breakfast. Soon, Tony came out wearing a white suit, saw Adam's breakfast on the dining table, and said with a smile, Hee hee, I didn't expect you to be cooking. Where is Christine? Haven't gotten up yet. After hearing this, Adam said, who was that silly girl Christine next to the sofa yesterday, so I asked her to go back and rest for a while, and I will call him later. Let's have some food now. Lawyer Stephen will be there soon. Arrived. Tony snorted, sat at the dining table, and asked, is it for Stark Industries? You can go or not. After hearing this, Adam said, you should understand that I don't have that much time to manage the company, and I still have my own company, so Stark Industries will trouble you. Tony was taken aback after hearing this, and said, you really don't want it? This is a lot of money. Adam shrugged and said, you know I don't like arms trading very much, that's why I founded Sagwong Company, and that's enough for me, so Stark Industries will trouble you. Who told you not to start a business? Tony laughed immediately after hearing this, and said, brother, do you think that if the heirs of other family businesses hear our conversation, will they think we are idiots? Adam said, who knows, maybe it will, but who makes our family different from those people? In terms of our two abilities, inheriting father's company will only make our progress a little faster. Tony agreed with a face and said, that's true. With our ability, we can indeed make a career like our father. There is still some self-confidence in Tony. The two quickly finished their breakfast, and Lawyer Stephen had just arrived at this time, so the two went out to meet the lawyer together. After Lawyer Stephen saw Tony and Adam, he walked over and hugged them to express his regret for the death of the Howards, and then started the topic. Lawyer Stephen took out a few documents and said, this is how it's made a few months ago. I'm starting to read it now. If you have any questions, let's talk about it later. Tony and Adam nodded, and said, well, yes, you can read it out, let's see what father thinks. After hearing this, Lawyer Stephen began to read the will left by Howard Stark. The general content of the will is that Howard Stark divided his 50.00% shares into two, of which 30.00% was reserved for Tony Stark. 20.00% is reserved for Adam Stark, and the rest of the assets except houses and other accidents are donated to the Hope Project and the like. After Lawyer Stephen finished reading the will, he asked, this is the content of the will. If you have no doubts, just sign your names here. After paying the inheritance tax, these things will belong to you. Adam nodded after hearing this, and said, well, it's really not a big problem, but I own a lot of shares in Stark Industries, so I'll give up 50% of it to Tony. Tony shook his head after hearing this, and said, no need for this, I also owned a lot of shares before, so this 30.00% share is enough. Lawyer Stephen kept feeling after seeing it. This is in other families, and maybe it might cause chaos in order to fight for inheritance, but I didn't expect these two brothers to give in to each other. It's really an enviable brotherhood. After some debate among the three, it was finally decided that Tony would inherit 35% of the shares, while Adam would inherit the remaining 15.00%, and then the two signed their names on the newly established document. A paragraph, and after that, some chores need to be done by Adam and Tony with the help of Stephen's lawyer. After a busy day like this, it was already around 5 o'clock in the afternoon when Adam returned home, and at this moment Adam received a distress call from S.H.I.E.L.D. The call was from Phil Coulson. It is said that because of a problem in the experiment, a green giant was accidentally born. What is even more worrying is that this green giant has no consciousness of its own, only knows anger and destruction, and Adam can help after washing. After receiving a call from Phil Coulson, Adam asked Athena to look up information about the incident, and soon, Athena sent the information she had collected to Adam. Athena sent a video file, which was the scene of the green giant escaping from the Military Scientific Research Center, and there were some battle scenes in the back, from which we can see that the Hulk has super strength and strength. With super healing ability, injured wounds can heal quickly, and the Hulk's strength will increase by 1 after each injury. After Adam saw this video, he said, it's such a worry-free guy. I don't know what kind of experiment they conducted to be able to create such a monster. After hearing this, Athena said, according to the data, they are analyzing and researching the super serum, hoping to create a super soldier, but they failed in the end. Adam shook his head after hearing this, and said, didn't it mean that the military had given up this experiment to Norman Osborn? Why did they start the experiment without permission? What a group of guys who don't look at the coffin and don't shed tears. After hearing this, Athena said, "The military's experiment this time was planned by General Ross, but S.H.I.E.L.D. seems to have contributed a lot in it. It is very likely that they heard that Mr. Norman Osborn also I joined this research, so I made something to speed up the research." Adam said, "Forget it, this guy has made them suffer a lot, let's go too. By the way, tell Tony and Christine for me, and remember to protect their safety." After hearing this, Athena said seriously, "Don't worry, Master, I will definitely not let them have an accident." Adam nodded, put on his battle robe and left New York, flying to the place marked by Athena, which was the last place where the Hulk disappeared after being expelled by the military. Adam's speed is already very fast, and now that he has learned to fly, in just a few minutes, Adam has already arrived at the border area of the United States, because the Hulk just wanted to run in this direction. After flying in the sky for a long time, Adam found the Hulk running in the jungle. This Mr. Giant has green skin, short black hair and blue jeans that are about to burst. When Adam saw the blue jeans, he immediately became angry. These guys actually did human experiments. Even after doing human experiments, they still want me to slap your ass for you. Ha, you guys are so beautiful. After speaking, in order to investigate the truth of the matter, Adam landed directly in front of the green giant. The Hulk was annoyed by the annoying iron flies and became even more furious. After killing a few flies, he regained his sanity and prepared to escape there, so he ran desperately and came to a forest. At that time, a guy appeared in front of him swaggeringly. Is there anything more irritating than this? So the Hulk was angry. The Hulk roared and threw a punch directly to kill the annoying creature in front of him. Then the Hulk obviously underestimated the human in front of him, because this human is not someone else, but our Adam, so he looked at the menacing punch. Adam was about to try the power of this Hulk, and he also waved his fist and hit the Hulk. After the two powerful forces collided, there was a loud bang, and the resulting shock wave destroyed the nearby trees, which can be seen how powerful is the power. While Adam and Tony were dealing with some trivial matters of Stark Industries, the Super Serum project jointly launched by S.H.I.E.L.D. Sen fiddled with the gamma-ray equipment, and then sent Dr. Bruce Banner, who was in charge of the experiment, to inspect the equipment. Because the experiment has reached the most critical step, Dr. Bruce Banner was a little anxious when he heard that there was a problem with the equipment. After all, the person in charge of this experiment is the father of his girlfriend, and if he can complete this experiment, the matter between himself and his girlfriend may have further developments, so he hastily walked into the laboratory regardless of other people's objections, and began to check the gamma-ray equipment, but at this time the gamma-ray equipment suddenly activated automatically, emitting gamma rays capable of killing a human in an instant. Everyone panicked when they saw Dr. Bruce Banner being hit by gamma rays, and they forcibly cut off the power supply. While sending a few people to notify General Ross, they walked into the laboratory to check Dr. Bruce Banner's condition. Under normal circumstances, any human being would die if hit head-on by gamma rays like this, but this time something was special. Gamma rays could have killed Bruce Banner, but because Bruce Banner had already used the super serum developed by myself, so under the action of gamma rays, the super serum undergoes unpredictable changes. Dr. Bruce Banner's blood cells quickly turn green, and Dr. Bruce Banner utters a painful howl before turning into a green giant. After some fighting, the green giant finally ran out from the heavy siege of the military, and was stopped by Adam when he reached a forest on the American border. The Hulk, who has completely lost his humanity, will of course be angry after being stopped by Adam, and his power will become stronger with this anger, so the Hulk punched Adam unceremoniously, and Adam also wanted to test the power of the Hulk. The same punch went out. With a bang, Adam was nailed to the ground by the Hulk's punch, and the Hulk was also pushed back several steps by Adam's power, but Adam knew that he lost in the first strength contest, but, well, although he is slightly inferior to the Hulk in strength, he is not without other means. Adam's body was shocked and flew out of the ground, came to the Hulk and punched the Hulk in the face. After being punched by Adam, the Hulk immediately roared and wanted to fan Adam away, but Adam would not do it again, competing with him and quickly dodging Lu Ju's blow. Adam instantly came to the back of the Hulk and knocked the Hulk to the ground. The Hulk was kicked on the neck by Adam and fell to the ground with a bang, and then he didn't get up again. Adam looked at it and said, "Hee hee, although you are stronger, your defense is not good." After speaking, he slowly fell once on the ground, Get ready to see what's going on with the Hulk. And at this moment, the Hulk suddenly turned around and slapped Adam away, and then excitedly slapped his chest like a gorilla. After Adam was conspired by the Hulk and shot flying, he coughed a few times and spit out the dirt in his mouth, a little annoyed. What are you talking about without consciousness? Can you think of pretending to be dizzy and sneak attack without consciousness? HMPH, you green gorilla, you isn't it too early to be happy? After speaking, he flew up into the air, slammed into the Hulk's abdomen, and then rode on the Hulk's body and began to hit hard. After fighting for nearly 10 minutes, Hulk's body suddenly shook, then slowly shrank, and finally turned into a naked man. After seeing it, Adam jumped up and said, "It's a good thing no one saw it, or else my brother's fame would be ruined." Adam was suspended in midair, looking at the person in front of him. He seemed a little familiar, worried that he couldn't remember, so he asked Athena, "Athena, search for the information of this person Yishi." After hearing this, Athena said, "Okay master, please wait a moment." "Well, I have found it. This person's name is Bruce Banner, yes." Adam hurriedly stopped Athena, and said, "Okay, I know who he is, I met him once before, in a seminar held by Mr. Norman Osborn. I remember Norman Osborn also. It seems that he is very interested in this person, but unfortunately, he rejected Norman Osborn at the time. It seems that he rejected Norman Osborn for the first time because he was also researching super serums." After hearing this, Athena said, "That's not the case. I saw from the information that Dr. Bruce Banner's girlfriend is the person in charge of the military's super serum program, General Ross. I think it's because of this reason. Reject it." Adam said, "Maybe, but what is certain now is that there is something wrong with the super serum project. No wonder my father has been reluctant to hand over this thing to S.H.I.E.L.D., hehe." Athena asked, "Master, what should we do now?" Adam looked at Dr. Bruce Banner, and said, "It seems that the doctor became like this because he was plotted against. Let's take him back to check his body first, and then hear what he knows." After hearing this, Athena said, "Okay, master, I'll prepare some tools." Adam nodded, and said, "Well, yes, then inform Tony and Christine that I may not go back tonight." After speaking, he took Dr. Bruce Banner and left the forest. Back at the villa on the shores of Manhattan. After returning home, Adam walked into his laboratory and put Dr. Bruce Banner, who was still unconscious, on a body examination instrument. Dr. Bruce Banner woke up once halfway, but unfortunately he hadn't waited. He was knocked unconscious again by Adam when he fully understood his situation. While operating the machine, Athena said, "Master, his body is perfectly fine, but the green blood cells in his blood seem to be the source of his power. It's really amazing." After Adam saw it, he asked, "Athena, try to see if it can be healed. Although Hulk's power is very powerful, I think it's better not to have this kind of uncontrollable power." Athena nodded and said, "Okay, I'll start to calculate now." After speaking, she began to simulate Bruce Banner's situation and diagnosis and treatment plan in her processor. 5 minutes later, Athena shook her head in frustration, and said, "Master, with the technology we currently have, it seems that there is no way to treat Dr. Bruce Banner. Even if we can temporarily make the green blood cells disappear completely, there is no way to prevent it from reappearing. After all, we still can't figure out the mystery of how the Hulk was formed. Maybe we can cure Dr. Bruce Banner completely after we crack this mystery." After hearing this, Adam said, "Well, I see, since it can't be cured, forget it, let's let the doctor wake up, I still have some things to ask him." After hearing this, Athena used a slight electric current to wake up Dr. Bruce Banner. Of course, this is what Athena dared to do after she had calculated before, otherwise the Hulk would wake up if she didn't pay attention. But by that time, more than half of this laboratory will definitely be destroyed, which is not what Adam hoped. Sure enough, after a slight electric shock, it was Dr. Bruce Banner who woke up. He looked around in confusion and asked, "Where am I?" Adam walked over and said, "Hi, Dr. Bruce Banner, I'm Adam Stark, and you're in my laboratory now." Bruce Banner said with some doubts, "Adam Stark, I remember you. Everyone seems to say that you are Xia Ying. Oh, my God, are you really Xia Ying? Did something happen to me?" Dr. Bruce Banner only noticed Adam's clothes at this time. Adam shrugged and said, "Yes, I am Xia Ying. By the way, Doctor, do you remember what happened before? After hearing this, Bruce Banner said softly, what happened before? I remember that the gamma ray emitter broke down. I went in to fix it, but I was hit by gamma rays. How could I be fine? Could it be you saved me? Adam shook his head and said, the person who saved you is inside you, can't you remember the past at all? Bruce Banner murmured, what happened before? Could it be that the dream was real? How is this possible? How could I hurt Betty? My God, this is impossible. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.